Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 305. It's all about the Superman family, baby. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge on the comic forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. I would be the most evil Superman ever, so says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin, and the Duke of You-Know.
How's it going, eh?
On this episode, Jim, Action Comics number 9, Superman number 8, Supergirl number 8, and Superboy number 8. We talk about the Superman line as we're going back to exploring the new 52. We also have a casual discussion in the beginning of our segment where we talk about just our feelings in general about the changes in the Superman universe and how we're feeling about it and what we're connecting with in the Superman universe. We also have the remaining voicemails from C2E2 from you, which we have some wonderful creator guests who were kind enough to call in and also podcasting guests. So it was really kind of cool. And I want to thank everyone who participated in those phone calls. We remain proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. Sponsoring us once again this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, you can pre-order Aquaman's hardcover, Volume 1, The Trench, at a special discount. This collects issues 1 through 6 of the new series. This hardcover is regularly $22.99. It's 50% off, only $11.49. Aquaman is one of those series. It's a character that I've had a soft spot from. I've mentioned many times on the show since the Peter David run. And this present-day run by Jeff Johns and the whole creative team is just really something special. If you weren't able to pick up this book, or maybe you've been enjoying this book and want to have it in a special collected edition, that 50% off deal, now you're paying $11.49 for a $22 book. So I want to thank DCBService.com for coming up with these amazing discounts. And also remember that 5% towards your DCB service order. You can actually earn another 5% discount from doing your digital shopping right through their website. So go to DCBService.com and use their digital stores. Over at InStockTrades.com, speaking of hardcovers, the one that has launched it all, Justice League Hardcover Volume 1 Origin. This collects the first 6 issues of the Justice League series. Written by Jeff Johns, artist Jim Lee, and various. Regularly $24.99, 50% off, only $12.49. It's a great opportunity if you're really into the new 52, or maybe you jumped on the new 52 bandwagon late and there's some books that you haven't been grabbing. Maybe you didn't grab Justice League. Maybe you didn't grab Aquaman. There's some great opportunities through both of these websites to pick up these books at amazing discounts. InStockTrades.com is your collected edition source. Trades, hardcovers, etc. Orders of $50 or more give you free shipping over at InStockTrades.com. Oh, James, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth in the plot line, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on the show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Raging Bullets podcast. You like comics, you like free, you like us.
Jim, our next review is going to be of Action Comics number 9. The Curse of Superman. Grant Morrison's the writer, Gene Ha's the artist, Art Lyon is colorist, Pat Brousseau letterer, Gene Ha and Art Lyon on the cover, Rags Morales and Brad Anderson on the variant cover, Will Moss associate editor, Matt Idelson editor, and Superman, of course, created by Jerry Siegel, and Joe Shuster. This was a cool issue because it was kind of a departure, not kind of, it was definitely a departure from the main storyline, but especially this month where we're getting books like Earth 2 and World's Finest being released and getting the idea of a multiverse in this new 52 again. We've got the Superman of Earth 23, who is President Superman. I really have been, not just this issue, I've been enjoying this book in general. I love the new Superman. I love the costume. These things that I was deeply concerned about before the new 52 kicked off have gradually waned as I've seen the reasoning behind all of these things. I love the idea of, and I'm just going to talk Action Comics in general before we jump into this storyline. I love in the Superman universe in general right now the focus on not just Clark, but also his supporting cast, who they are, what their status quo is. It's not just about him. The Daily Planet and the multimedia surrounding the Daily Planet now is something that is a focus of this series. Everyone has a job that has an impact in Superman's world and is impacted by Superman's world, and we're seeing that. That, to me, has always been at the core of my favorite Superman stories, or when it doesn't just focus on Superman, it focuses on how what's going on with Superman affects his world. And on top of that, we're dealing with a very different world that doesn't just immediately trust Superman, even in modern day. So it's a very interesting universe that's been crafted here. And at the core, though, do I feel that Superman is Superman, that Clark is Superman? Yes, all those qualities are there that I like. What about you? You're our super junkie out of the two of us. No, I mean, seriously, this is, the way I talk about Batman is the way you talk about Superman. I have a rich history with the character, but this is your guy. What are your feelings about Superman right now, and Action Comics in particular?
I'm very happy. This has been a great exploration, a great look at Superman and who he is and what he's about. We're getting to see in a way, you say, we're seeing the birth of the hero, even though it's not a quote-unquote origin story. It's not going all the way back to when he first develops his powers. This is the first appearance, the first, exposure, and just the continuing growth of trust and just acceptance by the people. And I love seeing that, and I love getting that side of the story. And the way it's being laid out, the way it's being crafted, is one, giving us some cool Superman moments, giving us some cool Clark moments, and giving us some cool DC Universe moments. And this is how you do the relaunch. This is how you do a reboot. It's giving us telling it, building it as it goes along, but it doesn't spend so much time just saying the back order, saying what's occurred, what's happened, that you lose people's interest. If I got a history lesson, in the book, I wouldn't be as excited about it, but I'm getting really cool Superman stories. And as the Superman story goes on, I'm learning more and more about the DC Universe. I'm learning more about Clark and everybody that's around him. It's just been a very fun read and a very cool, Superman story that, to me, this feels like the guy that I've always liked. I was concerned about the breakup of the marriage. Well, we're seeing other sides of, Clark's relationships. We're seeing other sides of Lois. We're seeing just, what will eventually be the great love and the great romance and the great marriage between Lois and Clark's. But, we got some time until we get there. It's not going to happen immediately, not going to happen overnight. And I'm looking forward to seeing the courtship and just, seeing Clark woo her. I want to see the super moves. I want to see just, what he's got, how he does it, and where it, how this all comes through. And, and the whole time, of course, I'll be rooting for him because he's my guy. And I'm like, yeah, go. Oh, cool. It's that same type of energy I got from Smallville. Seeing just the initial of their relationship, just go from, to those final moments of the wedding, which didn't happen, but then we see, it happens. Oh, hold on. I want those moments. And I've got a feeling we're going to get those moments, but we're going to get it told within the confines of a nice, long, healthy story.
See, for me, I hope they're not gun shy to marry him again. Down the road. I'm not saying that this is something that has to happen like over the next year, Superman has to get married again. I'm saying that I would love to see a plan in place where eventually Superman would marry Lois again. Because I think in this world, it would be very interesting to see the difficulties that would bring on their marriage and her in general, having to accept the fact that you're going to have people that don't universally trust your husband the way he was in the previous continuity. I mean, yes, we saw storylines where Superman was distrusted or mistrusted because of events, but then at the end of the day, there was always, but he's Superman. And this is a big distinction, I think, now with the New 52, is it's not that simple. It really does feel much more real world. I think we've got that same guy with the same core values that we've always seen throughout his rich history. It's not him that's been changed as much as the world around him. Like, he still feels like the Kansas farm boy. He still feels like that guy with that sense of truth, justice, and the American way, which you always shout out, on the show as being things that are really important to you. Those values are there for him. Those qualities are still there for him. It's just that the people just don't, and we keep going back to that. The people just don't just accept him because he's Superman and he's bright and he's got this symbol on his chest. And I think it does show a change in our society. We aren't a very trustful society at all.
God, no.
And I'm finding that intriguing because I do think this is very much what would happen in this world. We actually have vigilantes popping up in the news all the time now. People dressing up and doing this stuff on the street, which it adds a real world sense of what would this be like if it was really happening. Well, in some places it is. I mean, they aren't flying around like Superman, but you know what I mean? These guys that have dressed up and kind of taken it upon themselves to take what's been happening in media to a new level, in comic books to a new level, and actually trying to do it out on the street, right or wrong. And I don't know, it's something that I think seeing this in the comics now, it's a different sort of Superman storytelling that I'm used to, yet having the right beats to keep me as a Superman fan excited and feeling like this is the guy that I know and love. I think that's really an important part of this. Lois feels right. Jimmy feels right. Perry feels right. There's new supporting cast members and old supporting cast members in here that feel like they're adding something to the universe, making this world feel three-dimensional the way that it should be. I feel very at home here. I feel the way that I did back when Man of Steel happened with John Byrne. You know, that again revamped everything. That wasn't my first exposure to Superman. I'd read lots of Superman before that, both in his own book and in World's Finest and things like that. But that was, you know, my first exposure to being there at the launch of a new Superman. And this feels very much like that right now, where it's a modernization that feels natural and not forced. That's really important. If you've got like a Superman that feels like a square peg in a round hole in his own book, you got a problem. This doesn't feel like that. It feels like he's having natural reactions to things that are going on around him. I feel like I know Superman. I feel like I know Clark. And those are my favorite Superman stories. Sometimes the character, I think, is hard to relate to when he's not written right. And I think my favorite authors over the years that have done Superman have made him that guy. Why do we love Christopher Reeve so much in that role? I think we could all relate to the part of the act that he was putting on as Superman because we were all in there with him going along for the ride. We're doing that here. I think it's really important. And that's what I'm really enjoying. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm kind of going to co-sign on some of your sentiments about just the acceptability and the believability and just the reality of the book. You know, it is difficult to say a book about a guy who can fly and who's invulnerable and shoots lasers out of his eyes and has superhuman hearing and super eyes that can look through things is realistic. You know, there is always that element of the godlike powers that Superman has. You know, bringing him down to earth, making him, acceptable and understanding without taking away his powers. Because, a lot of stories where they've taken away his powers and he's just this person, who has no special gifts, but he still fights on. And you're like, oh, those are cool moments. That shows the heart of Superman. Well, we're seeing the heart of Superman. We're seeing the character. We're seeing the man behind the costume, and he still has his powers. And that's the balance of a really great Superman story between a really good Superman story. A really good Superman story will say, yeah, that's a cool story. That was cool. Look at Superman. He picked up that giant robot and threw him into space. That's awesome. But those moments where he's picked up the giant robot, throws him in outer space, notices that a fragment's going to hit an innocent person, hits it with the super heat vision so the innocents don't get damaged, and then swings by this way and catches this thing so this doesn't. That, to me, is a great Superman story because it covers all the little, it has the big boom moments, but it has the boom, 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 boom stuff that is the coolness of Superman. And we're getting those type of stories, but we're also getting these great Clark Kent moments, Lois Lane moments, Jimmy Olsen moments. We're getting these, seeing his universe, seeing his support cast, and just getting the human side of him. That's why I'm really excited about Superman and Action Comics. We've done a lot of Batman talk because of the Court of Owls, the Night of Owls, and a lot of great Batman stuff going on. And, kind of have let Superman just sort of slide into the background. But I'm just as equally excited about Superman. I'm just equally, thrilled with what's going on here. This has been just a really cool, time for me.
It's a great time to revisit Superman because I'm in a very different place about Superman than I was earlier. I enjoyed, let's talk about the main Superman title, Superman. I was enjoying that book since its relaunch, but I don't know what it's been. There's been something tentative with me about that book. I think because that was so far, it was jumped to modern day. So there were a lot of unanswered questions about how he wound up where he is and who he was leading up to that. And I think I don't know if you had this experience. For me, it made it hard for me to like attach to that book. I've been enjoying it. It's been a great ride. We had a great conversation about it back when we were exploring the New 52, and I meant everything I said there. But I even said that when we were on that episode, that it was one of those books at the time that I was not getting as attached to as quickly as I did Action Comics. Then that issue hit where they explained in Action Comics the suit and where it came from and its history with Krypton and its invulnerability and seeing that it wasn't automatically looking like, Superman's suit until he put it on, and how the suit now kind of organically helps him shift into the whole Superman role. When he pulls open the shirt like he usually does, and how the suit kind of morphs around him. I love that. I mean, I love that whole theme of the suit just being something a little bit different now than it was before. But there was a story to it that I needed to read. Its history with Krypton, and because I'm a big fan of the Ma Kent making the suit. That was, there's kind of a tearjerker kind of thing. I always loved Ma and Pa Kent. I still do. I love that when Superman talks about the Earth and defends the Earth, he talks about them. Even when xenophobia is thrown in his face, that's something that's at his core values. He feels that this planet adopted him, and he's used those terms. We're going to talk about them. I'm now at a different place. I actually went back through and I reread all of Superman leading up to present, the Superman issues, because I do feel like it's the book that I haven't connected with the same way that I did Action Comics. It reads a lot different now after knowing everything leading up to it. Knowing how Superman got that suit, what his early experiences in Metropolis were like, and how people were not trusting him, how he almost hung it up, at certain points in time. The great moments in the apartment with the lady, who was the landlord and that relationship building. It's funny how after reading all that, I go back to see the original work that Perez was doing, kicking off this series, right up into what's going on with the current creative team, who I think has just really been knocking it out of the park with Superman. Superman, for me, has become a must-read title. Where it was a title before that I don't want to say like it was on the chopping block, and please don't take it that way. I was into it, I was digging the story, but there was something missing, something I wasn't quite connecting with yet. When that Action Comics story hit and I had the whole story of what, Superman's all about and where he'd come from, it changed that book for me. And I think there was something I just needed to connect with the Superman. Now that I'm here, I'm in a very different place. And I do encourage anybody who's got those initial Superman issues, if you're in the same place I am, I don't know if anyone is, or if you're all like kicking your iPod going, nah, Sean, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. You're loopy. I enjoyed this book since day one. It's great. That's cool. I'm glad you did that. I'm in a very different place now, though. Those issues read tremendously better for me now. Very into the world of Superman modern day. And it's a great book. It's a great title. So I'm encouraging people to reread it if you had a similar experience to what I'm having here. I don't know if you did. Were you in a similar place I am, or were you just kind of on board all the way from the get-go? Because I know you're walking into all this, you were more excited about the suit change. You liked the suit right from the get-go.
Nah, you're loopy.
Yeah, that's...
I was from the issue 1. I was into this series, and and I liked the fact that it did do the past and present, and I thought that was a neat contradiction, and I appreciated getting that stuff. And as you said, with the suit, I was cool with the suit. I said, I wanted to know the story behind it. And when I got the story, I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's cool. I like that. But from the beginning, I was into this. And as I said, it's the difference between, in my mind, a good Superman story and a great Superman story.
Yes.
And we were getting some great Clark Kent moments. And that's what I really needed. And we got some great Clark Kent moments in that first issue. With that initial him dealing with when he goes to visit Lois, and just he can hear everything going on in the apartment, which you can see just as a kind of a knife in the chest there for the poor guy. And I loved seeing that type of just reality and just that real world experience, and just the Clark moments in the book, as well as the cool Superman stuff. So both of these titles have really had me going from day one. But I will admit that enjoyment has escalated since everything, as stuff comes out, as we get a more solid understanding of what is Superman in the DCU right now, and when we got the full backstory and kind of see a little bit more of it. And a second read through afterwards, from the beginning, has been actually really cool experience, especially because you now know why he was running around in jeans and a t-shirt and with the cape, and why he only had just the cape, and then he got the costume, and then everything that came together, and seeing the stuff then in action, in Superman where he's always had the costume come through. This has been a definite. These two titles have been a definite advantage of reread through a second time after you know the story, after you get multiple issues. And reading boom, 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 issues right after another really have had a cool effect and a deeper appreciation for the titles.
My mind, I think, has been so focused on getting certain questions answered that it was distracting me from really focusing on the great stories being told. One of the things that I really appreciated in my read-through of Superman in general, and a lot of this is a testament to what Action Comics has laid out in its foundation, is the focus on how tough it is to be Clark Kent trying to balance his world. Being Superman and going off and having these big adventures that take a long time would affect not only his personal life, but his professional life, especially when people are asking him to multitask on a level that most... Like, when Clark has had things thrown at him by friends and by coworkers and stuff like that to do, and then he's got to go fight Hellspawn. I mean, that would be something like he can't be in, even no matter the fact that he's Superman and he's so fast and he's able to fly and do all these crazy, amazing things. There comes a point in time where you're mid-battle, you can't be somewhere else.
You can't redefine the laws of physics.
And I love that that's being addressed. Unless you're President Superman. Then you can be other places at once, but we'll talk about that. But that is something that I've really, really enjoyed in my rereads of the actual Superman title, has been just the heavy focus on both sides of Superman. And it's done really, really well. So please don't take anybody listening here, any of my comments as being me not loving this. Everything Jim said, I 110% agree with you, Jim, that Superman's must read right now. The whole Superman universe. Actually, I'm going to be glad if we can talk about Superboy and Supergirl. I won't start talking into that now. But I just think this whole Superman universe is really rich and exciting right now. And those titles also fit the bill. But this has really been something that's become very rich, very satisfying. Let's talk about the Superman of Earth 23, because on the surface, when you look at this might look at like a fill-in issue type of thing, and it's so totally not that. It's really touching on themes that I think have been expressed since this title has relaunched. Fears of people. What happens when you've got a guy this powerful? What happens when a guy this powerful starts taking a position where he is running the show? He is a leadership position. What does that mean for this world? And we see a lot of the fears, the potential for those fears to be realized in this issue, which is something that was very interesting to me. Like, I'm totally behind President Superman. I think President Superman's cool. I think he's a good guy who's doing the right thing. But as this issue progresses, some powerful questions are presented. And I actually also see, which I love, this Lex Luthor's side of things, which to me is always an interesting commentary. I think a villain is much more powerful when they come from a standpoint of there's a realism to their fears, there's a realism to their reactions, especially when they're as violent as Luthor's can be. There's an intelligence to that. I don't think anything is lost. I'm rooting for the right guy. I feel compelled to root for the right guy, not just because he's Superman, because this guy, this President Superman, is written in a way that you can't help but be interested in who he is and what he's all about. Like, he's charismatic. It's very well written. I love obviously, I'm a Gene Ha junkie. Friend of the show, Art Lyon, we've gushed many times about what we love what he brings to the table with color work. These two, when they get together, they just do amazing things visually. This was just a visual. I would love to see these guys on a monthly together. I just so would, just because I love everything that they do. But this has been a real treat for me, because this issue, with the visual styling of it and everything that I think thematically it really is touching on things that are fears of people in the present-day Superman world. So it isn't a throwaway issue by any stretch. It is, I think, advancing the themes of the current DC universe in here by exploring it from Earth 23. 23, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think about this?
Number.
What did you think about this issue?
Oh, I really enjoyed the issue. And it's funny because some of the reasons I enjoyed it were also stuff that made me say, what's going on here? And it's that kind of that duality nature of my own reaction to it, which got me thinking off page and just got me going, wait a minute, what about this? And then even then bringing it back home to the regular, DC universe and just looking at it that way. It's the stuff I like about this Superman is he is different than Clark Kent. This is not how Clark would operate. This is not how Clark operates. And it's that difference that makes me go, what? But also makes me go, ooh, that's cool. That they're fleshing it out and they're doing it because we're seeing one of the reasons why Clark would never run for president, why Clark Kent would never become, and would never use the Superman power in that way. He's trying to keep himself distant from the U.S. government, distant from U.S. policy. And we're seeing this Superman who actually is embracing it and utilizing it towards his strengths, which, completely 100% noble intentions, what he's doing. But this is a dangerous tightrope. This is a potential for some bad, mojo to come down the pipeline. And the fact that by the end of the story, Wonder Woman is kind of addressing that and throwing it in his face, saying, hey, you talk about laws, you talk about rules, you talk about obeying the law, but you're not a natural-born American citizen. How'd you run for president? You had to lie on that. And there is just that basis of the lie, and is this what he's doing correct? Is this the way to handle, he's dealing with these horrible terrorists, over in a distant land who's developing a nuclear program that would, kill millions, if not billions of people. And on one hand, you're like, yeah, that's a great way of handling it. And then on the other hand, you're like, wait a minute, is that morally, quote unquote, morally correct way of handling it? And I loved the fact that it gets you thinking that even the very ending where it says the end ? This ain't the end of this story. This ain't the end of this Superman. And I'm looking forward to the next installation of Earth 23 Superman. I really, I was enjoying the story. And then you touch on artwork, which there's some really beautiful moments in here that I was just like, oh man, that's cool. Just you sit there and you stare at the page for a couple of minutes and you start looking at the background saying, oh, okay, look at that. Oh, you see the little detail and just the little extra stuff that, they put forth into it. This was just an all around really cool Superman story. But then it had some great just off page thinking and just got my mind going in a different direction as to who is Superman, what is the concept of Superman, and is this something that the world, the DCU would ever have to worry about, concern about?
I would love to see this Superman meet our Superman.
Oh yeah,
that's something. One of the things with the multiverse for me, it's always been a key is, first of all, the great job here is that they really have once again focused on showing us this Superman, what his world's like, what his theme's like, what he stands for. How would our Superman react to this, though, with him being in this role? And some of the things that he's done. Would he agree? Would he disagree? Why or why not? I would love to see that meeting. I think there'd be something interesting and compelling there. And that's something I think that's always been a key to DC's multiverse is when they introduce these characters, they become so rich and they have slightly, on the surface, they may look very similar. But the difference is, no matter how slight they may seem to be, wind up being huge when the characters actually meet. And that's something that I would love to see from this. I would love to see in the future another Superman explored. I don't want that to be overdone. This made sense because at this time I thought this was a great opportunity to explore this kind of Superman with the role that he's taken in the world. Because I think that is a fear. What happens when this guy gets too much power? The stuff you were talking about with Wonder Woman, Nubia, in this world. Yeah. And here's the thing, I'm rattling off names like Nubia and stuff like that because I really was into this issue. Yeah. And I loved that thematically he was called to task on those things because he would need checks and balances. I think that's the important thing about having people to advise him. It's clear that it's not just this world's Wonder Woman, it's this world's Aquaman, it's this world's Geoforce. Those things are all being brought into play because we're throwing out the different countries or different kingdoms that are present in the DC universe proper as we know it, which is, I don't know, I just thought that was really great. Go ahead.
I did like the fact that it's not President Superman. It is his alter ego, and the fact that they didn't go with Clark Kent again. Calvin Elias, Kal-El. I thought that was a nice little play on the Superman name. And even though his Kryptonian name is still Kal-El, so they've kept that part of it, but they did tweak it again. They changed it around a little bit, and it's what they've kept and what they've changed. That's part of part of my enjoyment on the story, and that was something that second, third read through where you really start thinking about how they kept things, how they changed it, where they went with this version, with his parents, the Ellises, in this world. That I wanted to know more about their story, and it was kind of I'm looking at the image going, okay, where does he's not from Kansas in this one. Where is he from? What's those buildings behind him look like? Okay, maybe a little bit more industrial. Okay, just trying to figure out where he came from in this world, and that was something I was like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Now Kal-El, it's Calel. Which
Right.
I like that distinction too. I'm echoing what you're saying and agreeing with that. I've always loved those little tiny tweaks about multiple Earths in the DC universe because they've always done that throughout DC's history. I like that with this new 52, they're not throwing everything out the window concept-wise that has worked before. They're taking these great concepts that great creators of the past have created, taking their own ideas and adding them to them, and modernizing them for today. So we're not throwing everything out the window, and that's why am I so giddy about the new 52? It's because it's got the right amount of classic with the right amount of new and fresh thrown in. That's really important. It's something that for me as a fan, why am I still connecting with this? It's because of that. We're seeing more and more of it as the universe has developed. I like that it's happened over time. It didn't just bam, drop it all on me at once. Issues like this are making me connect to the past and to what I've liked about DC. I was going to say Elseworlds. It's really not Elseworlds in the true sense. It's multiverse. There's a huge distinction there because Elseworlds, when it was introduced as a concept, they didn't initially pretend that it was part of the whole DC universe. It was something that they were, their own separate stories that didn't have to be interconnected. This is multiverse at its best. And that's something that I just really enjoyed. I want to comment about the art really, really quick because this is something I'm afraid I'm going to forget to mention. One of the things I really enjoy about Gene Ha's art, and my favorite artists in general, and this is something that's a great compliment, I love that when I go back and I reread the issue, I start paying attention to the background details, like the Metropolis Health and Racket Club in the background, looking at things like Giordano's as the name of what looks like some form of store there, obviously honoring Dick Giordano. When we get into that room with the giant cube, I love that I went through and I'm looking at mannequins and paint cans and just little tiny details that make that feel like a living room, a breathing room. I love the color choices in the rooms like that where everything is very much one tone, one color choice, except when that big cube is shown. And it stands out so vibrant for what it is because you want to instantly be focused on, like, what is this thing? And when it opens up and you start seeing Lois come in, and I didn't realize who that was. I love the first shot because it really is clear in the first shot when he's burning that is Clark, right? In flames. And now Clark isn't Superman, right, in that world?
Well, if he is, he's doing a poor job of it.
Right, but I think that's something that was established during the conversation, that he is not Superman in that world. It's a different world where he isn't Superman. And I don't know, I just think that's, and obviously Jimmy on the left, right, who's no longer with us either.
Yeah, see you, Jimmy.
Yeah. It's funny, even in the flames. Yeah, even in the flames, I don't know if Art did this on purpose or it was just a happy accident. You see that sequence where she's going, Clark, oh, Jimmy, oh, no. Is it me or can you see red hair in the flames? Am I seeing that right? Because I look at Clark's head and I look at Jimmy's head. It looks like you can still see red hair, like bits and pieces of it there.
Well, it could be hair or that could just be flames.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. I was very into the artwork on this. I was loving the color choices, everything that was presented here in this horrifying sequence. And I see Lois, really knowing that she was ready to kill him right in that spot. Not ready to kill him. She did. She fired
tried
that.
to.
Yeah.
She hit him with the K laser. That's, pretty much, there's no misguiding her initial intention there. You know, she sees him, fires. Okay, she's going for the kill shot, but I like the fact that how he handled it from then on. He's like, hey, relax, calm down, let me do my thing. And he was immediately went into the Superman mode. He immediately went into the, let's see what we can do for Jimmy and Clark. Well, Jimmy's a goner, but Clark, hey, these bandages may help. This will, you know, maybe help him out. And he tried to help out Clark, and he's you know, getting him intel from Lois to find out what's going on. Find out, why did this person just try to kill me, instead of going, oh no, a danger, threat, kill. You know, that's, you know, for me, a Superman moment is he takes the time to think before he acts. He doesn't just, it's just not a guttural reaction, because he knows how much power he has. He knows he could kill without a bat and an eye, so he needs more intel. He needs to know what he's up against, who he's up against, and why he's up against them. That, for me, was, again, a classic Superman moment. And this is a completely different person, completely different upkeep, but, you know, he's still the same Superman. We still had those Superman moments. And that, for me, was a lock into why I really like this guy.
You know, some of my favorite superhero animated and television shows, even going back to the classic Superman series, has those quick little intros right at the beginning. Like, this feels like an animated intro, the 2-page spread, where you kind of see what Krypton looked like in this world. And I don't know, to me, I love that. I geek out at this kind of stuff. And actually, Kal-El, from their world, I'm wrong, it isn't C-A-L. His name was Calvin Ellis, switched over, it is K-A-L-E-L. But it looks like it's not separated, right? Kal-El's one word. Is that the distinction? Is that how you're reading this?
Yes.
So I don't know, I really enjoyed that. Because Jor-El's the same way, right? Jor-El, one word?
Actually,
scientist named Jor-El. It is Jorel without any spacing there. So it's the same thing for his son. So I don't know if that's a deliberate tweak or whatever. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's, again, this was a really cool, you know, usage of the flashback sequence, telling us the story behind him. Didn't go too long, but still went enough so we get the differences. We see who and what he is and why he's about. And again, it's beautiful artwork that you can sit back and enjoy. And you sit there and just got the 2-page spread opened up, try to get, you know, it's, again, as I said before, I wanted to learn more about this Krypton. I wanted to learn more about the Ellises, see who they were, what they were about, you know, because it's obvious they instilled that same level of discipline, that same level of, you know, just pride in who you are, that American spirit. What makes this country great is the hard work, you know, the ethics, the might for right, not, you know, power hungry madman. I like seeing that, and I like, you know, even, you know, a couple glimpses later on when they show, you know, the dad working with, you know, with Calvin and just, you know, throwing the punches and like, hey, remember, it's not how big they are, you know, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. And I love seeing just that, you know, kind of moments where he learned from his father, from his Earth father, lessons that he carried on. And I want to know more about Earth 23. I want to know more about this Superman.
Now, when we see Lois, Jimmy, and Clark on this other world, we see these kids who are reading comic books like Starfire, which I loved. Yeah. I loved seeing it was classic DC logo. It was a Starfire comic, pulling something from the past. Very, very cool. You see them, they've got this machine where they realize they can bring things over and make them solid with their minds. And that was how they created a Superman. They created like a Superman concept that the two of them, the three of them, I should say, you see Jimmy even tearing up over their concept. You know, this really at the core was what we see as Superman, right? What they originally created? Am I getting that idea?
Yeah, well, their initial concept behind what was the Superman. And they even said in here where it's like, not a single second of his brief life was wasted, as he used it to articulate a code of ethics so pure and simple and good, we all wept. And I loved just that fact, because you think about it, That is at the core what Superman should be about. But then we get the corporation get involved. We get the people outside of these three innocent kids who want to create something for the good of mankind. Well, guess what? You've instilled other qualities. Other people are now, you know, putting their hand in the forging of this monster. And it's, you know, turned what from this great intention gets twisted and turned and tainted and darkened. And I was like, wow, that again is a fear that people would have about this superhuman being. And, you know, direct tie-ins to what's currently going on in our DC universe. We have people, they're afraid that Superman will do something like this, that Superman will become a conqueror and just, a force of darkness, and will start looking down upon the average mere mortals as just simply that, just little peons for his, grand scheme. And I love seeing the darkness and seeing just the nightmares, come true.
Well, it's, it goes back to the whole, it's funny, a lot of this thematically, we talked about things like Nightfall and Knight's Quest and Knight's End recently. They built their own Asbats. Yeah. I mean, they really did when they came through on this. It took everything that would be so-called cool to their audience base, and that's what they turned Superman into. They took away from, at the core, who Superman was and made him into something that would sell more merchandise. TV shows, cartoons, things like that. All of the things the three of them were selling for initially, because they were afraid that their idea was going to be stolen. And it's a very interesting commentary. It kind of goes with, instead of being creator owned, they went the other route. It's a very interesting glimpse into this world and the dangers of doing that.
And when they start showing glimpses of the world that was created, just everything, on the underwear ads and the bulletin board, the Superburger fast food or food restaurant going on, you got the BioWare ID card just in the background, so it's probably the whole Big Brother watching, where everybody's got to get this implanted in their arm and scanned, and so you even start thinking beyond just regular commercialism. We've got something going on, police state, happening in this world, all focused on this superhuman being and his caretakers and or his minions. And it's just, you can see just the glimpses of the complete corrupt society, playing out. And it was born from this pure and simple, and just this desire to do good. Well, best road, best intentions. It's, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's, you see right here, power corrupts, absolute power corrupting absolutely. And I love just how it, just this glimpse of the world can get you thinking beyond, just this one panel.
Well, I love that it became the cult of Overcore, because you actually see people holding their bags and holding this kind of pamphlet saying the cult of Overcore.
Yeah,
as they're in the street. And the condition red thing, I thought this was hysterical, but creepy too. Dial 911 if you witness anything suspicious, win valuable prizes. So, I mean, and the suspicious things would be anybody who I'm assuming would be going against the themes of Overcore and what Overcore was doing to kind of control the world. They turned the Superman symbol into, basically like a police state. And I don't know, I just loved it. I thought it was something that really shows, that's where this issue touches on the potential dangers of the Superman concept, if not steeped in true values. We trust a lot in the values of Superman, as readers. That's something that's really important to us. We would love for there to be a Superman in our world, but we want the kind of Superman with the background and the values that we have seen in the comics from him. We don't really want a Superman that could be manipulated, but we want the Superman that would be selfless, that would not be pulled into our world today. Because this is really the danger of what it would be like. This could very easily happen in our world.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's, the fear of this world. And it was neat seeing when this evil Superman showed up on scene, when they started talking about just the other worlds that this thing has been to, and just, again, the Optiman, the other Superman, then that other Justice League, Flashlight, Iron Knight, Red Racer, they all fought him and failed. And it laying down, again, that this creature coming through was just this ultimate power. And I love seeing that. And even, I felt bad for the little people. Because they had the little people, and they show him just, dangling the dead, little Superman. And I was just like, ooh, that's, because...
Is that the skull of little Batman? Like, right next to him?
I think so. I think that's the skull of little,
Baby
the
Batman?
skull of little Batman, of baby Batman with he's dangling baby Superman. And then when he comes through the gate, he's got something in a skull in his hand, which I'm taking to be the little Superman, because it's kind of the hair sort of has the curl to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the dead Supermen. So things aren't going well for the Supermen in the multiverse.
Yeah, well, you need like a stuffed animal or a mascot or a pet or something like that. So I get that it's Optiman, right? Isn't this? Yeah. Optiman would need that. It's when Optiman shows up, though, it's this another fake, another twisted replica. So was he going then from world to world trying to stomp out anybody? Is that why he's carrying that thing around? Because that little Superman is a replica of him? Or a replica of the Superman concept?
Well, I thought he was following Lois, Clark, and Jimmy.
But isn't the idea to go from world to world following them to stomp out the replicas?
Well, he's going to kill them initially, and that was his game plan. But as he's landing on these other worlds, now he's starting to go, hey, I think I'm going to keep killing these things, and, there can be only one. He's got, the Highlander mentality going on now. But this whole thing started initially that he was just going to kill these three. But, again, it's that whole power growth and corruption and just that he starts, as he starts killing them and consuming them, he's like, hey, this seems like a pretty good idea. I should eliminate these lesser foes and deal with these cheap impersonations of me. It's the ego and the arrogance and just all the negative emotions that get thrusted towards his creation kind of end up being his own undoing. If he had gone back to his own world, he would be ruling it, unlimited.
See, this whole concept, and more than one weak, watered-down imitation of Superman. When she comes through, Lois references that. So she's been to many Earths where these Supermen have tried to protect her the way that the little people did, and the way that Calvin's doing. Yeah. Like, this isn't the first time she's gone through this. Calvin was the first one that started to see some success, right?
Yeah, Calvin was the first one who was actually able to throw down and do something about it. And interesting the fact that, for me, it wasn't just Calvin who did it. It was Calvin and Luthor combo, who took him down. And the fact that when everything was done, he had his Justice League waiting outside just in case he failed. And it was a nice Superman moment where you see Superman step up to the challenge and why this Superman is different than the other ones.
Yeah, and I like seeing Luthor and Superman team up. It's great on this world that we see that these are two very, in their own ways, very powerful entities in their world. They know who they are. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. The funny thing is the two of them know each other so well that when they do team up, you see amazing things happen between the two of them. Luthor saves Superman. Superman saves Luthor. And then the two, it's kind of a constant, never-ending battle of if these two could ever get on the same page, the amount of good they could do together or the sheer amount of evil they could do together is staggering.
It was funny because in the very beginning pages, with Luthor, I love the fact that Luthor had to justify that he's not racist. It's not about the color of Superman's skin that he hates about him. It's everything else that he hates. And it's that same hatred that our Lex has towards our Superman. It's about the fact that this is an alien coming to Earth.
Isn't that racism? Isn't that still racism? He hates him because he's an alien, right? Isn't that a form of racism?
I would say it's more speciesism.
Okay.
As opposed to racism.
Okay, I can buy into that. I think it's just as bad. I don't.
No, it's just as bad. Yeah. I'm not justifying it. I'm not.
No. I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't. No, I'm not like mocking what you're saying. I'm more mocking Luthor's justification. I don't know. Hate because somebody's different is hate because somebody's different. I guess I don't see the distinction between the two. I think it's a horrible human quality, and I don't know. I'm not knocking anything you're saying. I'm more criticizing Luthor, not you. So we're on the same page here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and it's again. I love seeing though the fact that he did have to. He recognized though that this other creature was even more of a threat. So he had to help this Superman. He had to defeat it, but it wasn't helping Superman. He was saving his Earth. He was saving his planet. And we've seen Lex do that on multiple occasions in our in the real universe. Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it always gets me. Just it staggers the mind. It's an appreciation of the Superman story, but it always gets me thinking, dude, let it go. You know how much coolness a Superman Lex Luthor combo where they're both on the same page. They both want to help the world, and they both want to work together. What they would be able to accomplish, the two of these together. But it's just that character flaw of Lex Luthor that he can never let it go. And that's his great weakness, his great defect, or however you want to word it, that reference to, Lex. It is his hatred. It is his, racism. It is his prejudice. It is his, that negative ism that corrupts his soul, that makes him always the bad guy. And if he could ever just let it go and just, there would be so much better, so much, more gooder he would be for the world.
I like the solution.
Teachers.
Yeah. I like the solution. I'm not even going to go there because you did it on purpose. But, I like the solution of trapping him between wavelengths versus sending him to another world and having to deal. Like, to me, that was a very intelligent thinking of consequences on what your actions are going to be. If we put this guy in another world and trap him there, we're leading him to devastate that world. I need to come up with a solution where we keep him in between so he can never escape and cause this kind of terror and destruction to somebody else, what he's already done. So I thought it was a real good show that he was really listening to Lois and what was really brought down on that world.
Yeah.
I loved the whole epilogue of seeing the Justice League brought in, where we got to see what this world's Cyborg looks like, Batman, the Green Lantern, characters like Vixen that we know and love, and Wonder Woman, obviously, we've seen a lot of in this. We will see a lot of in this particular issue. But I really liked that distinction.
Yeah. And it was, again, as I said, this Superman's not afraid to call for backup. He's not afraid to, recognize he needs, that support. But in the fight, it was just him versus this, Optiman. It was just him throwing down one-on-one, mano-a-mano. But he had the support just in case something went wrong. Just in case this thing was able to take him, he wouldn't just, be able to walk through the world and just completely take it over. And I thought that was, again, another cool Superman moment.
Now, one of the things I really like is the distinction of the last page of the issue, and I want to talk, or last page of this section of the issue, I should say, because we're going to talk about the backup story that's in here. But this part where Clark's dead at the end, and he talks about how he couldn't save him, but there's still a chance of revival in the Lazarus revival area of his lab. Yeah. And, that he could be brought back to life. And really telling Lois, you can stay here, and she knows that, this is really her only choice. I love how he relates to her. You're a survivor like me. That's something we already have in common. And, relating to the fact that, her world is basically dead because of all this. Right? Isn't that the story she's telling here?
Yeah. This Superman comes through and he completely destroys the world. It's not just about, killing the Superman going on to the next thing. He does a full-on, goodbye Earth, whatever your number is. It's done and gone. So, she's like him. She doesn't have a home. She doesn't have a place to go back to. This is now her new adopted world. And again, why I want more stories of this Superman, I want to see what happens to this Lois. I want to see if he's able to bring back Clark. Is he able to do something with that? Will she be around? Will she be part of this Earth? Where and how will she affect this Superman?
I love that the Justice League was brought in to double check his solution. Yeah. I love that concluding panel. Where you see them all around it, Steel and Green Lantern and Batman, all using their equipment to analyze his solution to the problem, to make sure what he did is solid. I really enjoyed that aspect of this. I thought that was just something cool.
You need a double check and recheck. That was, again, it's the little extra panel here, a little extra attention to detail, that, was like, oh, that's neat.
Now, am I the only one, and please correct me if I'm an idiot on this one, the backup is Shali Fish is the writer from Super Friends, Cully Hamner, artist, Dave McCaig, colorist, Carlos M. Mangwell, letterer, Will Moss, associate editor, Matt Addison, editor, and, of course, Superman created by Siegel and Schuster. Am I the only one, though, when I read that first page, I'm, trying to figure out how that fits into modern day?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was going to be more of this Superman. And I don't know why. I felt like a dunce when I finally got to the point where I'm like, oh, wait, I get it now. Okay, duh. But it was really multiple pages in that I was realizing when it wasn't until I first saw President Superman that I realized what was going on here. Then when I went back...
You weren't alone. I will fully admit that I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, what are they doing here? And I was thinking, okay, it's a setup for the next Action Comics story arc. And then I flip the page and I see his face. I'm like, oh, okay, this is still that universe.
Did you have to go back and reread then?
Yes.
Okay, I did too. And I mean, and I'm not knocking this at all. I actually really love the story that's being told back here because it comes back to those themes I was talking about where we're talking about, okay, we've seen the positive benefits of his power, but I love that at the end, in this particular sequence of events, Wonder Woman starts asking some powerful, tough questions that I really like, and we'll talk about those when we get to it. But we get this whole situation where you've got, a country, Kuraki, is that what we're going with here?
Yeah.
That has, like, terrorist power and is basically, they've got hidden weapons of mass destruction, which is a very contemporary story, obviously, with what we've dealt with. But Superman has, in fact, not only found them, he has eliminated them and every possible research facility along with it, which is just a very different way of handling diplomatic talks. And basically is using all of his sanctions and everything, forcing these countries to bend to his will, which is an interesting commentary here. I agree with what he's doing. It is going to create a world peace. But what happens if, Superman gets a misguided ideal, or if there's something, Superman wants to do or gets advice to do something that maybe the whole world shouldn't just subscribe to? He's forced all of this on certain countries like this one. And while I can look at the great danger that he saved here from everything that he did, is it really morally okay for him to be doing what he's doing here? And this really can lead into a very deep discussion. Because he's giving what's called an invitation. This is no invitation. This is mob mentality here. Because he's really said, I want you to understand who all my friends are, who all my allies are. And I would like to extend you an invitation to come and join us. Yeah. And here's why. And here's how it will benefit you. Here's how it will benefit us. But of course, the decision is yours. Thank you for your time. That's no invitation.
Well, that's a protection racket is what it is. Yes. And it's, and on one hand, I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, that's actually a good thing he's doing here. He's taking down this government that could have and very easily have killed millions, if not billions, of innocent people. But the process he's doing it, is it right? Is it wrong? There's the moral question. And should the president be doing this? That was something I was so glad when this backup story was here, because there are these moral questions. There are these, is this right what he's doing? He's not a natural-born citizen of the U.S., yet he is the president of the United States. And it's not even like he said, hey, I'm not a natural-born citizen. Let's change the laws. Let's do this the legal way. No, he lied on, with the birth certificates, the documentation, all the things that, he broke the laws of the land to become president. Yes, he was elected, but he shouldn't have been because of, he's not, who he is. And I love the fact that it is thrown out there. And then the moral questions are thrown out there. This is just the beginning of this story for him. This is just the beginning of, what will happen to this guy. Well, I'd like to think he's a good guy and he will continue doing the right thing, but it could very easily turn. It could very easily get, twisted a little bit. His vision of what is peace is taking away a liberty here, a civil liberty here. Hey, that's for the greater good of everybody. It's not a bad thing. Well, once you start taking away one, you take away another, it can snowball, and you can start going from having complete freedoms and liberties, freedom of choice, freedom of expression, to you have freedom of expression as long as you don't do the following, this, and this. Those stuff are bad things, so don't do them. Well, you're still taking away the freedoms.
Here's the powerful part for me. What happens when one day you do what you think is the greater good, but the world sees it differently? And that to me is the power question at the end of this. It makes me question this guy, makes me question the choice of him being where he is power-wise. And I love the fact that yet I agree with everything you said about his decisions here. I agree with what he did. I understand why. But it does lead, is it right to do what he did? Even though I agree with it, that doesn't mean that it's right.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
That becomes the issue. There's a lot of decisions that aren't made that maybe I don't agree with, but are the right decisions to make. You know what I mean? And that's one of those things where it's a very powerful moral argument here that I can see both sides to. That's what makes this a compelling story. And I'm so glad that I caught on what was going on and I reread the first 3 pages of this particular backup story because it was really great.
I know.
I like this Charlie Fish. The backup stories that Charlie Fish has been doing has been terrific. And it was from. Did you read any of the Super Friends comic?
Yeah.
That was. I mean, just great writing. I'm glad to see this writer still writing for DC, and I hope to see more work because this was a compelling story. I really, really liked this, and it built totally off what was going on at the beginning of the issue. This is a great use of alternate Earths because a lot of these questions that are being asked all the way through are the fears in the modern day Action Comics and Superman title that are driving people who criticize Superman in the New 52 world. I love that because this is not a fill-in issue by any stretch. It's a thematic issue that further drives this universe that we're seeing right now. That's important. That's a key issue. And it was just something, I don't know, I really, really got that. I think if you look at this as a fill-in issue, you're missing the point.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you like the red S on the yellow shield or the yellow S on the red shield better? What's your opinion?
Oh, I mean, on this Superman, I love it just the way it is.
If you take the cover of Superman #8, where it shows the more traditional versus the cover of Superman #9, and you just look at those two S's, the two shields, where are you at on that? You like the more traditional red S or the yellow S?
They're traditional.
They're traditional?
But, I mean, I think from my comments on the show, it's pretty clear I like the traditional in general anyways. I mean, that's nothing new. But it doesn't mean I don't like this. I like it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I get you.
I mean, I tend to be more of a traditionalist. I'm guessing by you asking the question, you have a different thought.
Well, in a way, it's funny because on one hand, if you had asked me, before reading this issue, I would have said, "Oh yeah, the traditional red S." But
sure.
I'm looking at this, and I really do like the way the yellow S kind of pops. I always like the bright red on the bright blue and the red cape, and just part of me would like to see this shield on the traditional Superman with the red flowing cape, but the yellow and just kind of a splash of color changing it around. Because I do like the way that looks.
Oh, I like the way it looks. Don't get me wrong. It's I guess I'm not answering the question the way that you're asking, because I don't think you're asking if I like this. Well, I guess you are asking. Are you asking if I want this shield on our Superman?
I'm just throwing out a conversation.
Because, I mean, there's two different schools of thought. Do I really like this shield? Yes. Do I want to see it on our Superman? No. But that's a traditionalist in me.
Part of me would actually like to see it.
I like the style design choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't created for our Superman, though. And I think it's a brilliant design choice. I think it looks great. It was created for a purpose, and it totally serves its purpose brilliantly. Now, here's the funny part. If you switch the color scheme, I'd probably have a different answer for you, because I like the shield.
Yeah.
I would say the shield itself I wouldn't mind seeing on our modern Superman. I love the design.
Oh, yeah, I like that as well. That would look cool. Just for some reason, I'm like, that would look really cool on Clark. Now,
I think it looks brilliant on Calvin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, we're in agreement that it does look cool. I don't know, I was just sitting here, thinking about that, going, because I happen to have the two issues sitting right next to each other.
Right.
And, and you see the, I'm like, I wonder how that, and it got me thinking, what if that was over there? And part of me wants to go and get the image and actually do a little Photoshop magic and move it over and see how it would look on, Clark's chest, and just how would that look on our present day Superman?
Oh, no, it looks great. I mean, I definitely like the shield. There's two different mentalities of me working here. I mean, I'm a geek out of the issue of itself, so I mean, I don't know. It's cool. I think that I would like to see the current color scheme, the traditional Superman color scheme, but that's me. I think if they went to it and I saw storytelling with it, I would have a different answer for you. I need to see storytelling. So, I mean, I think if you plopped it in isolation, I'd have the same reaction as I did with the new super suit. You saw what that was like. I was very concerned. I was saying I wasn't sure if I liked it. I guess I got to see this story with it, but it's Superman. This is I like a certain look with it. I was given that talk, and I totally stand behind. That's what I was saying. Now I'm a geek for the new Superman suit. I need the storytelling to drive it. So
exactly. Okay.
I mean, that's kind of me and where I'm at. So when you show me things like that in isolation, I'm the typical geek that is skeptical. But I'm also, let me clarify that though. I'm also not the geek that goes, oh my God, that would be god-awful and horrible. That ruins everything. It destroys what Superman means and all that. I'm like the movie that's coming up. Man of Steel. We've seen images of it. And it looks like his suit's kind of a hybrid of the classic suit and the modern suit with a little bit of a darker tone to it. Now, in isolation, I could be saying, oh my God, that's going to be awful. Yet when I see it in practice and actually see the guy in the costume and see what it looks like on screen, I might be giving you a completely different answer to this. I want that movie to be good. So I'm walking in right now, until I see trailers, very open-minded that there's a plan here and that this is going to be cool when it comes to play. I want the next Superman to feel like Avengers just felt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's the Man of Steel. I want that to feel that way. So I'm one that, while I will be skeptical and tentative, I don't also put nails in a coffin that doesn't necessarily need to be built yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think a lot of people will do that. They'll start saying, "Oh, this is it. It's the death knell for the Superman franchise and all that." I'm not in that place. I don't get there. So that when I look at a Shield like that and you throw me that question, until I see the storytelling where we see him on the modern Superman, my answer is going to be a tentative one because I like the traditional. And I'm a total geek now for the new suit, though.
Yeah.
And I remember, I referenced on the show, actually it was funny, it was an issue of Superman that finally sold me on it. Nicholas Scott, when, he was flying in that suit. There was something about that issue where we saw him against giant robots and stuff like that and saw him being super, and actually saw that in action, where he was doing these amazing Superman-like things. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm a believer. So that happens. I mean, that's what I need for that type of stuff. So you throw this shield on him, too, and you start showing me stuff where, he's being super, I'm probably going to give you a very different answer. I'll probably be saying things like, what kind of idiot wouldn't like it? Whereas right now, I'm in a different place. It is a geeky topic.
Yes.
Be a good boy, finish your homework, and be in bed by 9. And hey, please tell the big man I said hello.
And our next book will be Superman #8, scripted and co-plotted by Keith Giffen, with pencil art and co-plotting by Dan Jurgens, finished art by Jesus Marino, colored by Tanya and Richard Horry, with letterers by Carlos Mangual, associate editor Will Moss, editor Matt Idelson, cover art by Ivan Reese, Joe Prada, and Rod Reese, with Superman, of course, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster.
I think it's Joe Prado.
Prado?
You put an A on the end sometimes?
Oop, sorry.
No, I'm not. I know I butcher Ivan Reese and Rod Reese, so I mean, and I'm not even sure with saying those right now that I'm saying them correctly. So I apologize for that one. But that one was one where I caught it. I'm like, let's correct that one if we can.
And I think Pants said, that it's Ivan.
Ivan. Well, that would make sense actually.
And that was the thing. I was like, Ivan. I wasn't exactly sure. I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
Right.
So
that's why we apologize regularly for any name butchery, because I know that's one I always get wrong. And I love the work, which is terrific. This is a book, I want to clarify from some of my earlier comments. I've enjoyed Superman since the relaunch, since the new book. I've enjoyed it. It's been kind of the question of what is his background, who is Superman in this world, that I think have been driving a lot of my being tentative about this title, which is why I'm really happy to say that, into issue 8 right now, I can't wait to read this book when it comes out. Superman's become a title that went from being, it was never middle of the stack. It was always, in one of the top of the stack reads, but now it's become really like, I'm excited for Superman. I've got to read Superman. There's some times where I'm just in a Superman mode before I'm in a Batman mode, and I'll read Superman first. So, which is a great statement, I think, to make about this character, because I think Superman should be one of those characters that you want to read right away. And, Dan Jurgens has had a rich history with Superman. Some of my favorite Superman stories he's been involved in, both in writing and the art. You got Keith Giffen on board. These art combinations that they're putting together right now at DC, art teams that they're putting together, I think have just been tremendous. This is a book that has been served with beautiful art since its relaunch. We've had consistent creative teams that have been, I thought, just setting the bar very high on what Superman books should look like. We're kicking in with the start of this issue with two characters that I'm just, we got Lois Lane and Lucy Lane addressing the problems that I'm really digging in Superman. Clark Kent. He was supposed to pick her up, never showed. We don't know why. I shouldn't say that. We know why. They don't know why. We actually are jumped right to why. But I love Lois's internal dialogue. Wonderful. Not even one day in, and she's found someone to paint a bullseye on. I hope you've got a good reason for not picking her up, Clark. She's going to be a thorn in the side of this relationship. Lucy.
Oh, definite. Yeah, there's definitely going to be an issue, and I'm kind of curious. I want to see the conflict. I want to see where this goes and how this plays out, and what excuse is Clark going to use?
When we see Superman there first getting shocked, this is an example of when the kind of artwork where the super suit, the new one, really stands out for me. Because this visual look right now, to me, is a great example of a hybrid of classic Superman look with the new look. There's enough classic in this image right here that I feel right at home, yet there's something that's fresh and new and unique in there as well. There's a balance in the art styling. This is the type of artwork that has made me a fan of this suit, what we're seeing here. Not just with this particular art team, but this art team understands it. This stands out for me. I think this visually, it looks great. Looks really, really great here. And this should be the kind of template look for the super suit that we see going forward, because it works for me. Oh,
this is a beautiful full-page spread. And it's funny. He's in pain as he's fighting it out, as he's getting blasted. But it's still, there is that looks awesome.
Mm-hmm. Which really works for me. And I do think the story of the suit is really won me over. I think, if you're going to make me care about a suit, make me care about why it's even there. But then we get into these battles that are Superman-level battles where he's being thrown through buildings. And you see the reaction of the people around him. Superman, and I love that people don't necessarily, in this storytelling, know how to react to him.
Yeah.
And when we see how this story starts to get into Superman's psyche, where we see, him being sort of quote-unquote tricked during sequences of this, I think it really stands out to show how this world at large is affecting Superman. When you see things like where the heck is that cloud with the ring? Think we got in. He hears everything in our real world. So whether he's in the real world or the imagined world that was put together by Hellspont, these are all things that we're seeing psychologically how what Superman hears is affecting his overall perception of people. And what I think that to me says more about his strength of character, that he can look past that and still be the man that we know him to be. It means more to me that he does that versus the people patting him on the back all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that kind of effect from this, but I did. I respect him more because he still stands up and does the right thing.
Well, this was, the second and third read-through on this opening, especially in particular, this is where I really caught. I'm reading this going, okay, it's not the same Superman, but I then really started noticing how it's not just about them not trusting. This was a complete world turned on Superman.
Yeah.
This was, the alternate version of what could happen in your future. And it was something that I was like, oh, okay, now you see the little subtle stuff with, where's the cloud with the ring? Hey, how come the Bat guy doesn't seem happy? Does he ever? And I'm like, okay, this is the heroes turning against Superman. This is what if everybody turned on him. And I love the fact that when I was first getting into the story, I'm reading it going, wait, this isn't where it left off last time. And I was trying, it's remembering a month ago, 52 titles. And I'm like, but then as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. And as everything completely plays out, you're like, oh, that's neat.
But see, what I like about this is because it's Justice League turning on him as well, even, when he has these conversations with Jimmy, I agree with everything you're saying there. It's not only Superman's, the worldview of Superman that's being addressed here. It's Superman's fears of the future of what could happen to him that are being addressed here. Because when you hear all that stuff, you got to wonder yourself, what happens if the world turns on me?
Yeah.
not just what if he turns on the world. There is that other side of it that I don't often see talked about. Like, if you're a guy like Superman who's doing the right thing and trying to do right by the world and trying to be a symbol and take action and do something of value because that's the way you were raised, and the world talks about you, a lot of people in the world talk about you in ways that are being presented in that, like, dream world that he was being presented with, how would you react to that? You know, I mean, what fears would that place in you about your potential future? There's a Superman side of that he has to wonder, what happens if they turn on me? And that's often never discussed. You know, it's always, you know, if he turns on the world, what if they turn on him? I love that. I mean, I thought it was just a different take, a different way of looking at this that I really, really enjoyed.
A lot of times I'm asked, hey, if you could be a superhero, what powers would you want? And just the whole geeky question that we always go with. And I'm always tempted to say Superman, but I never do, just because of the burden of being Superman.
Right.
I would never want to have that much power or that much responsibility where you hear the cries of help for everybody in the world. And you have all this power, and you're like, hey, I could get rid of every drug dealer in America in a blink of an eye. I could end this war over here, these two factions killing each other, and with just barely flexing my muscle. But is that the right choice to make? Is that the right thing to do? And it's the epic power question of Superman. And just this little couple simple pages, these just simple things of opening into the thought process of the Justice League turning on him, what he would happen, how would you handle it, how would I handle it, and it always opens the questions in my mind of, you know, the whole what about, you know, what would I change if I was Superman? How would I do things differently? And it does enter always a cool, you know, just inner dialogue inside my head.
One of the things, you know, it's super restraint that he has.
Yeah.
You know, you've got this great power where you could do everything you mentioned, but it's also being able to pick and choose what do you think's the appropriate path? You know, what should I get involved in? What should I not get involved in? Because I'm making the choices for the world. I think that's why this Superman, this is a great companion issue to what's going on in Action Comics. Because this is a Superman who would really have a lot of questions for that super president.
Yeah.
You know, Calvin Ellis and Clark Kent would have a very interesting discussion. And I don't know morally, you know, who you side with out of those two. I honestly would say it made me prefer our Superman. For as much good as Calvin Ellis is doing, I have more faith and confidence in our Superman for his restraint than I would Calvin Ellis.
Yeah. Definite. And the funny thing is, part of me thinks I would be more of a Calvin Ellis Superman than a Clark Kent Superman.
Oh, I would too. I'm with you.
But I like this one better. I like the way Clark's approach to it. But if I got to be completely honest, I could see myself doing, you know, handling it the way Calvin handles it. And to be honest, I may even take it a level beyond what Calvin's doing and actually run as Superman. You know, and, you know, say, hey, Superman's your president now, not this other guy, you know. And part of me would, you know, but then once you start going that route, you really enter into the concept of an emperor or a conqueror, or it goes beyond just a 4-year term president. Oh, okay, yeah, one more term, 8 years, and you get done with the 8 years. You're like, really? You think I'm going to step down? Yeah, I'm doing a really good job. I'm doing a better job than you guys can handle. I'm just going to stay in charge. And that's where the question runs of, hey, is this a president or is this a dictator?
Dude, I'm a Batman and Hawkman guy. You should not give me Superman's powers. I have no doubt. I'd love to have them. I'm going to make a mess of things. It's the truth. I think it's one of the things that I think we admire about Superman is I love when storytelling makes him accessible, so I feel like I could get to know him. I've never growing up, and this isn't a knock on the character, I think it's a strength of the character. And it's something with Batman too. I think as I've grown older and I've gotten to know Batman, I don't see myself as being able to be Batman. I don't see myself as being able to be Superman. I relate to them more from the people around them who open the doorway to get to know them. Like Batman, I always feel like my favorite Batman stories are where I feel like I'm riding along with Batman, not where I am Batman. Superman, it's the same thing. I think these are characters who are larger than life in the decisions they make, the drive that they have. Superman and Batman are both powerful characters, not because of necessarily their abilities, but because of their moral conviction. We talk about Batman's sheer determination to keep training himself and to keep going on no matter what, and how there comes a point where we just couldn't do that. That's what sets him aside. Superman, it's his restraint that sets him aside. He has the ability to, like, stop himself from doing things that we just know he shouldn't do.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think of, I don't do a 10-minute ab workout program because that's too much work for me. So you think I'm going to have the Batman level of discipline of exercise? Not going to happen.
But I love that you basically just said if you had Superman's powers, you'd take over the world.
That's why I should never get them.
It's really funny. I won't do 10-minute abs, but I would take over the world if I had Superman's powers.
Yeah, it's
great. Which would take, you know what? Which I will pat you on the back for. It would take a lot of effort.
See, I may actually, though my laziness may be the factor that saves the world. I'm like, I could take it over, but you know what? I got a marathon of Deadliest Catch on, and I really want to watch, see what happens on the Northwestern.
But here's
I'll
why.
The world tomorrow.
Here's why you would do it, and I'll actually defend you on this, okay? Mentally, all that it would take for you is one time watching Deadliest Catch for something going on in the world to cause a blurb over the screen, some kind of interruption that comes in during your Deadliest Catch marathon, where you'll say, if I got the world under control, I could sit down and watch Deadliest Catch without any nonsense.
Well, actually, it would be the first commercial break, because that always annoys me.
So that would be something where you would eliminate commercials, you would eliminate all these other things, and just be able to watch uninterrupted Deadliest Catch. Anyway, back to Hellspot.
Just for that reason.
Yeah, and back to Hellspot or Sensei of the Whatnot, whatever you want to call him at this point.
You know what? I do like his style. It's as supervillains go, he's got a really cool style going on here.
I do too,
love the introduction of the brain bug or whatever he puts in Superman, and then when Superman's able to eject it and reject it, he's like, I knew your alien DNA would reject it. I just wanted to give you an example of what life would be like, what your future could be like, and show you why it's better to be with me. Really, honest, I'm not lying. I love just seeing him just keep playing off and keep trying the used car salesman. Hey, guy, yeah, I'm your friend. Yeah, I just threw a giant rock at you, but I did it for your own good. That is a cool villain. This is a neat guy.
And this is a character who was the enemy, I guess, of Wildcats, right from the beginning of Wildcats. It's been so long. It's not a character. I thought I recognized the character. I will admit that I don't. I look back at it because I read Wildcats 1 years ago. Could I tell you what happened from that many years ago? It was 1992. No, I remember the main team, not the villains as much. So this is kind of a great use of blending, the Daemonites and the whole, I guess, Wildstorm universe right into the DC universe here with a character who I thought the discussion between the two was very compelling. And this adds a new villain to Superman's Rogues Gallery and the DC Universe Rogues Gallery. I love villains that will just kind of stop things and just take a walk with the hero to talk about the greater glory of the Daemonites, and really to kind of explain their piece just because he's that confident about what he's doing.
Yeah, and I love the fact that how he's approaching this, because he's like, look, I'm not really a bad guy. I serve the Daemonite cause loyal, and they betrayed me. They're the real bad guys here, but now that I'm free, I'm going to conquer the universe. But here's the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to let you have Earth. You conquer Earth, you deal with these superheroes, and hey, it's yours. That's the kind of guy I am. That's the great person I am. I love this guy.
And you know what, Jim? Here's the funny thing. I don't know if you're in the same boat I am. I'm believing he really thinks he's being benevolent doing that. Like, this is like, hey, I respect you. You're the kind of guy I want working with me. this is what I'll do for you because this is really the role you should be in. And just look at how well we'd get along together. And I think you can relate to what's been going on with me. That whole discussion was fantastic because I'm sitting here like, you know what? I think this guy's totally on the level.
Yeah. Now, I do question whether he would double-cross Clark after everything is done. I don't know him well enough to know whether he would double-cross him. But there is an initial offer where if Clark had said, hey, you put together a pretty good idea. I've been getting kind of sick of these commercial interruptions when I'm watching my TV shows, and I can maybe change that about this world. So, yeah, I'm in. I think he would actually let Clark do his thing and maybe even let Clark have the Earth.
See, you wouldn't have gotten a boulder thrown at you.
No, I don't think I would have.
But see, that type of stuff, you might want to reconsider that stance. That's where I think he's on the level. Yeah. I think there's a cockiness to him and a confidence level to him that I don't think he feels the need to lie to Superman here. I think he's on the up and up.
Yeah. I get that feeling from him. And I don't really know this guy. I don't know this villain, or I think I've read like one story with him once. Because his name and his look was kind of familiar to me. So I'm like, I think he's been around. And when you mentioned Wildcats, I'm like, okay, maybe that's where I read it. But I get this feeling of sincerity from him. It's hard to say that about a villain because they do normally double-cross and lie. But, again, it's the question of what if. What if Clark had been, less morally conscious and said, why don't we try this? Let's see what happens. Maybe I could make this world a better place.
But I think he's appealing to his loyalty.
Yeah.
And I think he wants him to be loyal. I think he's looking at this saying, hey, look at your situation here. Why are you bothering with this? You come with me. Look how easy it'd be. You can just run the place.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. It's kind of like this. It works for you. It works for me. We're cool. I mean, that's really what he's appealing to here. And they're already building up plans to turn on you anyway. So why are you loyal to them? Yeah. I'm not, I'm not going to bother with that. Like, if you get in my way, I'm going to throw a boulder at you and remind you what's what. And then, we'll be okay. I mean, he's talking it out with him here. Like, he throws the boulder at him and just, it's basically like, hey, let's keep talking. That's why I'm thinking this guy's legit. Yeah. I'm not saying I agree with him. Don't get me wrong on that one. I don't. But I think what he's telling Superman is genuinely what he feels. There's no game here. I mean, this guy's talking about really basically saying these people are nothing. You should be thinking they're nothing. Let me tell you why and why this would work for us. I don't see a reason, unless it looked like Clark was disloyal to him, for him to not want what he's telling with Clark. Mm-hmm. Because he's laid out what his benefit would be in that arrangement. And it works for him. There's no reason for it to be otherwise. So, I don't know. I just get it. And that alliance would obviously potentially be to his advantage down the road anyway to maintain. So, he's not giving Clark the power over him. He's giving Clark power over this world. There's a huge distinction there.
Oh, big time. It's funny. I do think the guy is being honest, and honest for a villain. And I would love to hear the story. I would love to have someone create the story of what if Clark said yes. What would happen then? Just play out the whole, an Elseworld story of what if Superman turned bad, or what if Superman got sick of dealing with humans, and I would love to see how that played out and see where it changed. Did
you read What If from Marvel? Do you ever read that book?
I used to, yeah.
What you're saying right now, could you imagine if every month they took one comic issue each month and told the alternate story of it?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, this issue was released twice. It was released in Superman, but then there was a DC version of What If, where they showed exactly what you're saying. Do you know how great that would be?
Oh, God, man. I would be on that. That would be a yes. Especially this artistic scene, when right after he throws the rock and he blasts through, and he's like, okay, you've had your say, now it's my turn. And he's just standing there. He's got the flames coming out of the eyes. He's got a really cool, hoorah, I am Superman, I got some power look to him. Right there, if he said, you know what, you're on, let's do it. That right there is the transition piece. That's where it deviates, because he even has kind of a power, sort of darker look to him that could very easily shift towards evil. And I'm like, right there, bam.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's great. But I love then the dialogue that where it really goes. This is one of my favorite lines in this issue. I didn't adopt this world adopted me. I've experienced the best this world has to offer thanks to parents who never once considered me anything less than their son. Give it up. Compared to them, you're irrelevant. That whole sequence right there, and I got to, I've shared on the show multiple times, I'm adopted. When he does that stuff, I relate to this guy to no end. Because I'm fortunate enough that I had parents that were in that boat. So I'm kind of like, okay, I get I'm not the Kansas farm boy, but I get the whole, like, his loyalty to his family and stuff like that. They are part of who he is, and they've made him who he is. And I love that. I mean, there's something about that I'm like immediately connect with Superman. But that dialogue there was just, that is a man who was raised by parents who let him learn to be himself. And he's 110% in tune with who he is, what he's all about, right or wrong on those values. He has a set of values that you can understand. Whether you 100% agree with Superman or not, there's something definable about this guy that really is being touched on here, and I love this. And he just keeps going on with this great speech about them. Oh, yeah. And, I hope you understand. Well, at that moment, that was a threat.
Well, he was like, I was raised on hope. And I love that concept and just that thought behind that is, the upbringing that the Kents instilled in him, that there's always good. There's always another way. There's always a better way. You might for right. It's the whole, it is the basis of what Superman, who he is.
Oh, and I believe we've already covered how much I love being blindsided. I love, this Superman. Wait, he goes at this point, the guy says, I take it your way of telling me no? Dude, Superman just gets up and starts taking him and knocking him right into a mountain. I mean, that was terrific. I love that. I mean, that to me is, yes, Superman moment. You get in there and you kick butt because at this point in time, this guy has given you no reason to do it. The time for talk is done. You can chat with him along the way, but it's time to start punching things. Great pacing on this issue because it was really, I thought the dialogue led really nicely to the point where I wanted to see Superman throw down.
Yeah. And we got to see some cool throwdown moments where he's throwing the top of a mountain at him, then he's blasting him, and Soup is just, sticking and moving. And I loved when it looked like he was initially going away. He's like, fleeing so soon, Kryptonian, to what avail? Yeah, you keep thinking that. Zoom, swoops around, bam, hits him again. I was like, yes!
But I love that it wasn't just Superman getting the one up there. It looked like he was, but then Hellspawn plays him, too.
Yeah.
I mean, his sense of compassion and stuff like that was something that he played on. I loved how this fight played out because that fight could have ended there when Superman came in and one-upped him. Instead, you got to see, this kind of trade-off back and forth. And that last part, newsflash, down does not mean out. See, to me, one of the things that I find powerful about Superman is those moments where you see him get up despite insurmountable odds. And I think that's something that we're seeing a lot with Superman, not just physically, but emotionally in both Action Comics and Superman right now. There's a lot that goes on around him that psychologically should keep this man down. And he doesn't. He doesn't. Yep. He gets down, but he's not out. He gets back up again. I think we all need to remember that in life. Those moments in life where life's getting you down, people around you might be getting you down, they might be saying or do things that will bring you to that point. But, you've got to know who you are, and you've got to, suck it up and do the things that you need to do to keep your life moving forward in a positive direction. That's Superman to me. Superman's that positive hero that should charge you up and remind you. And you lose that if you don't have that kind of reason to look and admire that Superman keeps doing this. If Superman's just constantly able to, with no hassle at all along the way, win the battle, you don't get that moment where you admire him. This right now is a Superman that I admire because of the fact that not everyone's patting him on the back all the time.
Yeah, and his life is difficult. He's got to knuckle up. And I love seeing the next panel where Clark had the bruise around his eye, and he looked like he had been in a scrap or a throwdown. He got knocked through a mountain, then he got blasted, and there should be some physical signs of some physical damage. And, it shows just how much energy was being hit with him. if it could, bruise him, if it could hurt him, if it could make him, wince in pain. I like seeing that levels of power and seeing Clark have to unleash with an equal amount of, an equal level of just bam, explosion to deal with the villains. It's some cool Superman moments.
I love the anti-Superman symbol on the fence. This is what he's flying home to.
Yeah, right outside his house, there's an anti-Superman fence. He's like, at one point in time in his life, he probably thought, really? Right here at my house? You gotta do that to me? Come on.
But you loved it, didn't you? It was great.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, does he ever think going, little heat vision just zaps it?
That's really funny. I like the relationship with him and Jimmy. I think this is a good spot for Jimmy, because we've always had him as Superman's pal. And we see that kind of relationship. It's great to see him with Clark afterwards. The whole bedbugs thing that we saw brought in earlier. Clark remembering that was as one of the things that shocked him out of his funk.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that play back and that, he's staying now. But also, we haven't seen a resolution with Lois and Lucy yet, which I'm interested in seeing. That's one of the things I'm really digging about this book. It's done a great job since issue 1 of gradually crafting these supporting characters that, I'm actually the issue going, I want to see that conversation. Those are things I care about in this book, not just the big fight, which was tremendous. I want to see the conversation, too, that happens there. But it wasn't appropriate yet. You want the fight with Hellspawn. We need those moments, too. There's a good balance in Superman right now, of both. You need to have that balance. Otherwise, it comes too much one or too much the other. And this, I don't know, it's just a great world that I think is just being crafted here. I'm very, very into Superman now.
Oh, big time, big time. And it was funny, that last panel, that last page, especially that last panel that we don't get to see Clark's reaction, but we hear Jimmy's commenting on the look. Because when, he's like, hey, I opened the door for you. Well, thank you, Your Majesty. Hey Clark, what's up, man? What's with the look? You kind of makes me wonder, is some of the psychological warfare that Hellspawn kind of played on Clark, is that starting to affect him? Is that kind of sitting there in the back of his mind going, really after I just got knocked through a mountain and now you're giving me grief because I was in the middle of saving the universe from another villain and I forgot to pick you up.
Oh, no. You know what this is going back to? You're right, it's going back to Hellspawn. It's going back to the fact, Your Majesty, because I opened the door for you. You're going to come back at me with that. Do you have any idea what I just gave up?
Yeah.
And why I just gave it up? That's what that was all about.
Exactly.
And that was great. Clark was given that opportunity to be Your Majesty, and he said no.
Yeah.
Which is what I love. That's where that look came in. Maybe we're saying the same thing, just in a different way.
We are saying the same thing in a different way.
Yeah. That's what I really loved about it, was going right back to that sequence of events. I adored that. Great issue.
And that got me thinking about with Lucy, because that's going to be the next thing with him dealing with Lucy and dealing with Lois. The fact that he didn't pick up Lois. And you know what? Everything he gave up, the reasoning behind why he wasn't there was this greater good that he can't say. And he's getting grief over it. He's getting anguish over it. He's getting just he's like, hey, come on, really? You got to do this to me. And I want to see Clark deal with that because, again, that's part of a path to world domination and conquering. When you start getting sick of the little things.
Oh, I see. Did you take that as that? Did you take him as getting sick of it?
Well, I'm saying this could be a pathway down to it. I'm not saying
I don't see that,
sick. This could, again, psychological warfare starts with little pieces, little ticks, little nicks. Now, I don't think Clark is of a weak character that he would go down the road.
No, I don't either.
Someone like me, I would go down that road, and that this would be the way that they would get me to eventually go down that road. Just these little bits on me, this little, really, come on, just give me a minute here. Just give me a minute to think, while I save the world again. And that's the kind of mindset where Clark could very easily go down if he wasn't a strong character. And I like the fact that's where they have these possible things. We're going to see why Clark is Clark, not me.
Yeah. See, and we are totally saying the same thing, because I see that being his natural strength of character, is that his reaction's a very natural reaction to that, but he would never give in to that, and that's the part where you admire him.
Yes.
So we are seeing the same thing. I think we're loving this. And here's the funny part. This is a Superman book. a great Superman story where I'm sitting at ready to argue the point with you about Superman because I care.
Yeah.
That says a lot about this book, and I think we're both been in this position during this episode where we've been ready to jump in with, to defend this guy and what he's doing. Even in parts where, because you and I are different, we're going to think of it a little differently, but we've both reached the same conclusion. We like him. We respect him. We can't be him, but I mean, oh my gosh, is this a Superman we could admire? And it's a Superman we're passionate about. That's the key. Was the New 52 successful in its relaunch of Superman? When we are having this kind of discussion about Superman 8 months in, yes, it was.
Yeah.
Or 9 months in now, with the 9th issue is coming out of this type of thing. Yes, it was.
And we're both ready to throw down, but we're both saying the same thing.
Yes.
We're both like, wait, hold on. Oh, okay, we're saying the same thing? Yeah, okay. It's, we're both ready to fight. We're both ready to go.
Right. And we would both dominate the world if we had his powers. So.
See, I actually think you wouldn't dominate the world.
Yeah.
I think I would, but I don't think you would go that level.
What do you think I'd do?
I see you being more Clark, more Superman-ish, helping where you could, doing more. I would see you doing more international natural disaster relief and famine aid and helping the starving children of the world. I see you doing more of that global stuff.
You know what, though? I'll admit where this will be, and I'll admit my own character flaw here. And I think you'll agree with this. I think I have an ego that would like the pats on the back that he does not play into. Like, I would look for the photo ops. I would look for I agree with everything you're saying. I would love doing those things, and I would love doing them for the moral reasons. Because I would like the idea of helping others and doing all that stuff. But where my character flaw would be, because you threw yourself under the bus, I'll throw myself under the bus. I could see myself getting very into being the pat on the back, getting the TV cameras and all that kind of stuff. I also see myself taking offense when they didn't like me.
Okay, you're the Booster Gold, is what you're saying.
No, not quite to that level.
Not the commercial side of Booster.
No, like I don't see myself doing that. I wouldn't see myself wanting to go on like Oprah or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it going that level. But if the cameras were there, I wouldn't mind seeing my picture in the paper under a positive moment. I think Clark does like that to a certain extent, though, so I don't know that I'm that much different on that end. But I do see myself. You know how Jor-El always warned him about liking that stuff in the Superman films?
Yeah.
I'm always sitting here saying, boy, I get what Jor-El's saying, and boy, would I need that advice. Because I could see myself liking that, too. I would like the good guy side of it. I would not want to be a supervillain. And I know that about myself. I like heroes too much. I like the heroic part. the saving people, I could see that being something that would be genuinely, like, I would get off on that. That'd be cool. I mean, saving people. I mean, people being happy that could have died or, getting cats from trees and stuff like that. I'd like that kind of stuff. But there would be the ego aspect of it that I would also like I would be very upset if I saw blogs. Oh, and then he did this, and he thinks he's, like what we're seeing in this world that Superman's facing, what is affecting him that he could hear people saying would affect me more than it affected him. I think it would lead to some bitterness from me.
The anti-Superman signs.
Well, no, I could see there being days, Jim, where I would be very torn about going out to be Superman if I had that constantly being thrown at me. Whereas he bucks up and keeps going.
Yeah. See, and those are the things that would drive me to conquer the world.
Right. So it would have both of that would
have. You don't want my help? Deal with my problems.
I think we both admire him for the same reason because we'd be affected by the same things.
Yeah.
Because I know I would take that stuff personally. I would get very mad about it. So, which I think there's a relatability to this guy.
Exactly.
Where you sit there and go, "Wow, look what he has to overcome." I wouldn't be able to do that. There would come a point where I could see at the very least, I could see that leading to me hanging it up.
Yeah, that would be the question. Do you for me it would be do I just walk away and say forget them, let me go to another planet that has a yellow sun and see how they treat me, or do I conquer this world? That is also something else I thought about Superman, where if you get him mad enough, he could just simply leave. As long as he goes to another planet with a yellow sun, he's got his powers.
I could see it going another way, though, Jim, where you could become very selfish and just live life and use it to advance yourself.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, you're not necessarily hurting anybody else, but you're not necessarily going out of your way to save the world the way Superman does. Like, your friends in your community, like, I could see myself, like, if you called me up and we were chatting on the phone, maybe you didn't know I was Superman, and you were having some kind of trouble. I could see myself saying, well, screw the world, but dude's always here for me. I'm going to go help him. I could see a Superman, myself being a Superman that would become very choosy over who I would help.
Oh, okay.
Like, we've made lots of friends at comic conventions, for example, and different comic events. There are people that we genuinely talk to both on and off the air. There are people we talk to in our forums and stuff like that. Like, if I heard one of them was in trouble or something like that, I'd be inclined to go help one of them out, you know? Because, I mean, they're good people, you know, the people we know. But, like, after being berated so many times, am I going to go help stranger A if I know the community in general is going to just bash me? I don't know. You know, or is my Superman going to be one that, like, operates from the shadows where person's saved and they can't tell people that it was me who saved them because I'm not going to... I'll just save them for the intrinsic value of it versus being a symbol, which I think is a mistake. I think Superman needs to be a symbol. Because I think the conversation we're having about Superman being the kind of guy that keeps going in spite of how the world does that, I think that does inspire some of the people that look at him and go, look at this dude's got blogs are trashing him left and right, so are newspapers and news media, yet he keeps going. That's in these comics, when you see these people step up and say, hey, he just saved us, those are people he's inspired.
Yeah, and those are the cool moments that I enjoy.
Yeah.
That, you know, seeing the people say, hey, what are you idiots doing? Didn't you see he just saved all our lives?
Yeah.
Come on. You know, I love those moments that we get in the comics, and we've been getting some great moments throughout Action Comics, throughout Superman. There's a couple in there's a real cool moment in Supergirl that has, you know, that kind of vibe of, hey, you know, she just helped us out, she just saved the world, back off. And I like seeing those moments, and that's something we talk about, just how the present day society, we are very skeptical, we're very negative, we blast first and compliment later, but there are the people who do step up and who do say, hey, this is a good guy, this is good, you know, this is awesome, why are you doing that? And I like seeing that, you know, that we get both sides of the story. We need to have both sides of society and both sides of humanity for it to be a realistic exploration.
You know what it'd be, Jim? I think we're both being too hard on ourselves. I think because we read these comics and we like these characters so much, I do think that that means we do have those moral values inside us where we root for the good guy because you hope that you could be that person. I think the issue we'd have is if we had those powers and we were trying to do this kind of thing, we'd make a lot of mistakes along the way that they don't. And we'd try to correct them and become very frustrated along the way when we can't. But I do think, and I think this is true of most comic fans, I think most of the people that really enjoy this kind of thing would love to be in a position where you could make a difference. It's just very hard to have the same strong moral code that these characters do consistently. Oh, yeah. That would be the key. I don't think that I really don't think, joking around, we joked around about you becoming, you know, this world-dominating supervillain. I don't think that would happen. I think the issue would be, though, and I think this is true of both of us, we would try to do this and do it horribly wrong many, many times. I think we do a lot of good. We'd also screw up.
Yeah. Oh, there'd definitely be a learning curve.
Yeah. And I think that's more taking the joking out of this aspect of it, because I think it's always fun when you have geeky discussions like this with a certain element of reality to them. I think that's what really would happen in both of our cases. Because I do think we root for heroes because deep down you want to be a hero. And you want to be a part of that. I mean, why did we throw on capes when we were kids and run around the neighborhood? Why did I do it last week? It's because of the fact that we do want to be heroes. We do want these kind of things. It's cool as can be. That's why you geek out at movies like The Avengers when they come out and they're done so well. You know, it's that kind of stuff when the heroes keep getting up and they keep battling, and you just hope that you could do that thing. I do think we'd try. I think we'd keep trying. It just we wouldn't be as successful as a Superman, or his sister, or his cousin. Yeah. Which let's talk about that book next. We got right here Supergirl number 8, written by Michael Green and Mike Johnson. Penciler on this one, guest pencilers George Perez, Bob Wyacek, guest inker, Paul Mounts, guest colorist, Rob Lay, letterer, Perez and McKeag on the cover, Will Moss, editor, and Matt Idelson, group editor. And Bob Wyacek was on the show in the past and really just gave us a terrific look in what it means to be an inker. And again, he was working with George Perez back then. Yeah. And I believe it was Brave and the Bold he was working on when we had him on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this book, Supergirl, was one I was very concerned about when they relaunched it, because I'd really grown to love the full development of the one in the previous continuity. She was introduced in Superman, Batman, really just kind of fleshed out over the time as being this bratty kid into somebody who was so much more. I loved so much what Sterling Gates and Jamal Igle did with her, and I thought it was a natural transition from her introduction, which I thought was great, into this kid who just really was trying to fit into our world, into somebody who was Supergirl. And what I think of as traditional, iconic Supergirl, what I grew up with the character. I've got to tell you how much I'm digging this book and this character. And I get totally why this book needed to be relaunched. A lot of what we've said about Superman is true with this character. She is somebody who's coming here. She doesn't even really speak our language yet, right? At all, I don't think.
She does not speak any English yet. And it's
8 issues in.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And it's how she's surviving, how she's dealing with this. This has been a scramble, Jackie Chan type movie where she's just going bum 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 bum. She's just bouncing around from one problem to another, one fight to another, and we kind of get that moment where she's at the I am exhausted stage. And I love just seeing that out of her and seeing where that goes and how this goes. She's going right from this I need a breath to battle. And it's been a cool Supergirl ride.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love this opening shot of her, seeing her there. It's funny, this is another suit that I didn't really care for when it was first relaunched. That's grown on me. Yeah, I like it now. I do. I did not care for it all. It took me a real long time to get used to this suit. And I'm very into it now.
I wanted pants on her. Yeah, I wanted
really
full. Yeah, I did want full length pants on her, and so it's I don't know. It's just something about me and pants. I like the full suit, the full costume. But it just I don't know. I when I was looking at it, it was even to me it was even skimpier than the little mini skirt she used to have, and I'm like, come on, I understand she's a girl, so you want it to be a bit feminine, but you know what? Do you really got to do her half naked?
Oh, is that really how you're viewing this? See, I don't view that way at all. I like the skirt thing, too, so I'm into that. I never saw this as being an outfit I wanted to see with pants. It just wasn't one of those things. And it's funny, the Wonder Woman one, I really liked the pants version better. Yeah. I grew to really enjoy that, and I wish they had stuck with that, because I think that was a great look for Wonder Woman. But I guess the backlash on this one, it was never a pants issue. It was more of a design choice of the way that red and yellow, where the skirt area used to be. Mm-hmm. I don't. There was something about that. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like that. And I think the more I've gotten used to Clark's look and what Krypton, I think what's helped me with Supergirl and Clark has been the issues in these titles that have explored and shown us the styling of Krypton. And when you start to relate that to how these two are dressed in modern day, and that there's deep roots into the lore of their people, that's what has helped both outfits grow on me. So I think that's what it is for me versus it being those type of choice issues. It's been a direct connection to their history, their lore, in a way that I think is different and unique to this storytelling, but doesn't lose at the core who these characters are. I think Kara, my favorite stories with her now involve the fact that she, more than Clark, has that, because she was older when this all happened to her, she has that direct connection to Krypton. And that's led to her, when we've seen her in her appearances, butting head with Clark over it. Superboy led to her butting heads with Superboy over this. I really love when these characters interact, because their interactions make sense. I do feel like she's not some spoiled snot-nosed brat. I feel like she's very accessible and likable. Her reactions are, for somebody who just has a complete language barrier, is trying to get to the root of hey, everything's okay here. But they can't understand a single word that she's saying. They know she's got intense power levels. Right? We see here that, she looks to them like a threat. And I love the thing. She's got her arms up, ready to shoot some kind of energy blast. And her saying, they're saying stand down. Stand down from what? What can she possibly do to stand down? What does stand down even look like when you don't have a weapon?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And I love just how the opening, and every time she gets into these, fights, she knows this is, an authority figure, a military, a police force. She recognizes that by the uniform, by the fact that they have the useless weapons that they're pointing at her. She knows, and she's trying to convince them, so she's doing the universal, hey, everything's cool, with the open hand. Well, guess what? They're taking as energy blast, shooter! I loved to seeing that, and this, again, was another artistic moment, because you see the guy who's saying it, he's kind of got the look on his face, like that, we got problems here look, the big bright, the wide eye, just that look of terror. But you got the sergeant saying, hey, on my command, get ready to fire. He's that grit to him, and in walks this another person who's jumping in the path, saying, no, don't you see, this is a hero. She just saved us. Relax, everybody. I love just how that all played, just the raw emotion coming out.
Now, did you look up how to pronounce her name?
No, I was hoping you had.
Siobhan.
Oh, okay.
The BH is pronounced like a V in the Gaelic pronunciation. I wanted to look it up, and this is a funny part. I grew up reading stories with Silver Vanjie. We've seen her before on the show. I don't know why this one in particular. It was very important to me to get her pronunciation. And I'm probably still butchering it a little bit, but I did one of those, searches on Google for pronunciation. I typed the name in the way that it was, and it's the Gaelic spelling. It's the B and the H are pronounced with a V. And so I cared about looking this up, because I know I'm really bad. I'll get things wrong, and then my problem is, as a reader, once I start to pronounce a name a certain way. It's like with Jean Paul. Yeah. I had pronounced him for years Jean Paul when I was younger, that I got so fixated on that. It's still very hard for me to call him Jean Paul. I know that if I don't get myself right from the get-go, I'm in big trouble. So I figured with the transition now to this being the new continuity Silver Banshee, maybe I should try to get the name right. So it's Siobhan.
Siobhan.
Yeah, or close to that. I'm not going to pretend that I'm 100% dead on with the pronunciation, but the B and the H together makes a V sound in the Gaelic pronunciation. So I figured I would throw that out there. I really liked the use of this character here. I love how she jumps in and starts to defend Supergirl. She can somehow speak the language, so now we've got somebody who can act as a translator, but also knowing that, she could become a villain at any point in time, because that's the relationship she usually has with the Superman family.
Yeah.
Was something that I really am enjoying about this character. Just a really great introduction to her. I feel like they're buddies right now, and I'm liking the friendship as it's developed in this issue, that I am, protective of the friendship. I don't know if you were the same way. By the end of this issue, I'm like, they better not turn this girl.
Well, it's funny because when she first came on and she first popped in, in Irish, I was like, wait a minute. And I immediately after I looked at her, I went back to the cover. And I looked at the cover, the Silver Banshee on the cover, and I'm going, I think, and I wasn't 100% certain if she was Silver Banshee. If she was going to be, if this was the new Silver Banshee, or if this was somehow going to tie. I knew it obviously was going to tie into it, because I knew this was the Silver Banshee issue. But because I kept looking at the cover, and I'm like, yeah, there's female qualities to this kind of the cover, and I kind of noticed a little bit of the hair, was a similarity. So I was like, and that got me thinking maybe she turns into Silver Banshee, but she's not bad, or I didn't know where this was going to go. So,
but look at the color scheme of her clothes.
What?
The color scheme of her clothes, for me, was like a total, I'm like, oh my God, that's her. What are they going to do with this?
Yeah. And that got me excited. I was really thrilled to see this going, okay, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, it was great. I loved how Supergirl, when you see bullets fly, you don't always get this opportunity in flight to see a Superman family member have to deal with protecting somebody in that motion. I loved the visual twisting of her with the cape wrapping around her, showing us again, remember, indestructible clothing, right? Yeah. Good use of that to try and protect her friend as well as herself. I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, God, yeah. And I took that to be a complete protection of Banshee mode.
Yes.
Of Siobhan. As opposed, because, Kara earlier said, hey, these are useless weapons against me. I am in no threat here. But there was a civilian, an innocent person in jeopardy, so let me protect her. And I thought that, again, it's a cool Superman family moment, but it's also a cool indicator of her that she's not going to let just some innocent person die. Now, there could be a little bit more beyond just let an innocent person die. This is someone she can talk to now. Yeah. This is a translator. I don't think she was thinking that way. I was thinking she was thinking 100% protect this person, but there is a little bit of A and a little bit of column B in there, sure. And I liked seeing just this possibility of a friendship.
I loved the dialogue afterwards. I like this idea that they get worn out. I mean, think about the fight that she just went through. You know, where do I go now, and what do I do with this girl? Starting to feel the effects of my fight with the World Killers. You know, the energy's come back slowly. Remember, she was pretty drained during that fight. And I love that hasn't been ignored. I thought that was a great consistency to the storytelling, and a benefit for those of us who've been reading this every month was like, wow, that, you know, this is something that, and she has to be concerned of not just herself, but this girl. And, you know, what do I do with her now? Because, you know, she's in danger. But I love that Silver Banshee's coming back to her and saying, hey, you know, what about me? What about you?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a great conversation between the two of them. And I love the moment with the birds.
Yeah.
Mainly because I know how you love when people talk to birds. And
you know what? Here's the thing. Hold on. Not only did I like this moment, I thought it fit. This right here was a great moment and the correct person and a correct way to speak to the birds.
But Jim, let me ask you this question. Was there a part of you that wondered whether or not she was telling the truth?
No.
That one thinks you're beautiful, and this one thinks you fly really well. Do you believe birds have a language that you can relate like that?
To be honest, up until this point, that never entered my head. Now, as soon as you say it, I'm like, huh, you know? Do they? I don't know.
Go back to the conversation that she's having where she's translating.
Yeah.
And there's times where it's like a Cliff Notes translation.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure that she's telling the truth. You know, where she's saying that she's negotiating. Here's what she said she was negotiating with. Shove it up your rifle barrel. You should be ashamed of yourselves. That's not negotiating. That's antagonizing.
See, I took it as completely her style of negotiations. I didn't take any of that stuff as a dishonesty. It was just trying to get them to stop. I didn't take it, she was antagonizing them. She was literally trying to, but she's not a tactful person. She's not a politician. And she's going to be blunt.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. There's part of me that agrees with that. There's another part of me that's skeptical because I know she's a villain in the DC universe. There was a villain in the DC universe proper before this. So there's that part of me that's like tentative. Yet I'm with you. I like the friendship. So yeah. It's an interesting way to be torn. I think it would be a neat twist to have Silver Banshee become a friend of Supergirl's.
Yes.
So I'm not against that. I do think that I want to start seeing allies for her in this book, more of them. This is something that I think the book needs. This type of relationship would be a unique relationship to see. So I don't know. I'm kind of cool with the whole thing, especially when she's telling her, hey, you're going a little too strong here with the helicopter and stuff. Is that really necessary? I think she needs that kind of friend with her right now. So, and that's not a bad guy move. She could have let that happen if she was a bad guy.
Yeah, so I don't read her at all as being a bad guy. And I think right now she's a good guy. Or she's just a person trying to survive.
I took it as deception, not her being a bad guy. I think there's a distinction there. When she was telling her certain things, like with the birds and with the negotiating, I took it as if that was not totally on the up and up. It wasn't because she was evil. It was because, maybe she's somebody that socially doesn't know how to react to people or something like that. That was just kind of her way of responding. I don't know.
Yeah, and just some of the stuff where she talks about her father being dead, and how she's, in America to start a new life. Well, she's not completely here to start a new life. She's trying to run from her dead father who is haunting her. Right. And who is coming. So there is bits and pieces she's left out of the story, but on one hand, she just met Supergirl. Is she going to tell her entire life story? No, she's not. You got to hold back, and you got to be a little bit reserved on what you tell, why you tell it, and when you tell it. If during this opening dialogue she said, yeah, my father's dead, he's a spirit who's haunting me, that's not the right time to lay that down. Of course, the way she found out about it is not the best optimal situation either. But there is just I don't take it as a malicious reasoning behind why she's leaving out information. I think it's just it's just trying to not make things easier on Supergirl, just kind of slowly working her into the order of the world.
Yeah.
And it's funny now that I do think she was lying about the pigeons.
But that's what I'm saying.
She was just saying that to make her feel good. And oh yeah, that one thinks you're pretty, and that one likes the way you fly. Just little. It's just I don't think pigeons think anything beyond hunger, eat, food. I don't think they have complex thought.
But I guess what I'm saying is when you've got a person who clearly uses deception at some point in times to kind of achieve their goals, what else are they being deceptive about?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. It does leave for
not evil.
What's going on?
Not evil, deceptive. And why? Is it a survival skill? What's going on with her? I took that as being human. I didn't take that as being evil. And I want to clarify that. I have yet to see anything that makes me think she's a bad guy. I'm actually rooting for the friendship. So that isn't somebody who I'm thinking is evil. But there were parts where I was questioning her, as I think you would any new friend, tentatively.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like that.
Oh, definite. And with Kara being new to the planet, she only has one other person that she can physically communicate with. So she's really going to be more trusting of her new friend, and just that's where that's where you'll really see intentions come out. Once Savon realizes exactly how much influence she is going to have over Supergirl, that's where you'll really see the character come out. Because, it's one thing to have all this power, but to be the person that can manipulate and utilize that power, we're going to see her character come out. Will she be this good, honest friend who tries to help her get adjusted to society, or will she be the person who tries to hold her back a little bit, keep her confused, keep her dependent on her? I don't know, and I want to see how this plays out.
I love when they went back to the apartment, and Kara's picking up the television, and Siobhan's like, what are you doing? She's talking to the television, though, like it's a computer from Star Trek that is going to, expand the image, highlight in, because she's trying to find specific information from that. And I love that she doesn't realize how this works.
Yeah.
So how does she know it's TV?
Because Siobhan said TV.
But that was after the fact. She said TV first. So it must be something from previous...
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because when they walk into the apartment, she doesn't say TV yet, right? So she must have seen that. I mean, we're 8 issues in. I'm sure she's seen TV before. But she picks it up in TV in quotes. Please expand image. So I guess I was wondering, how did she know what TV is?
That must have been a prior issue. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, or that, maybe is that what they called that on her world? I don't know. Be an interesting coincidence.
I'd say because of it's in quotes.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what TV stands for. She doesn't know that TV is television.
Right.
That it's an abbreviation or whatever.
The runes that are on her arms, with one being her and one being her father's. Does the one being her father's does that rune being there lead to there being a capacity for evil in her? I don't know. I'm curious storytelling-wise where this goes. Is the one side her good side, the other side the bad side of the family? What happens if her father's out of the picture? Does her father become part of her?
I took that as deception on her part. That was the first time I really saw deception, because I took it that S was for Silver Banshee or for her. I didn't take it as being, her father, because even when you realize, the ruins. Well, the S is for me, Savon, yeah, and the other is for my father. So I took it that
Silver
was
Banshee versus
deception.
Black, and the father's would be BB for Black Banshee?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my take on that.
And I would agree with that as well. I don't think we see the father's runes at any point in time, do we? No, we don't. I'm just looking to see. I would love to see what the father's got on him. See if that validates and backs up what you're saying. Because that's just as good of an answer to me as anything else. So I don't know. I like her focus on saying, hey, I know you like this outfit and all, but you gotta blend.
Oh, definitely.
Walking around with that on your chest is really telling people that, You cannot be under the radar. And
Yeah.
and the clothes and going to the concert. And I loved the travel to the concert and how we get to see the difficulty Kara has, because at this point she has not been around as long as Superman, right? I mean,
No.
much later that she arrived on, or at least was, brought to life on our Earth, because she's been operating for the last 8 months,
days.
right, of DCU
less
time.
than that.
Yeah,
It's less than that. It's been I take it she's only been around for days, if not weeks, maybe. Because people really don't know what to make of her. She's just made an appearance, boom, boom, boom. It's not lengthy dealings and whatnot.
8 months is not lengthy dealings. I guess what I'm saying. I mean, in overall, compared to like 5 years for Superman.
Right.
So I mean, look at where Superman was in his initial first few months. So I mean, I'm taking her to be in the place that Superman was in Action Comics, maybe at the end of it.
Actually, Superman was, by the end of Action Comics, was in a lot better place than she is now. This is how Clark was when he was a kid, and the powers first.
You misunderstand me,
really
though.
started
The time frame that passed in the first issues of Superman, it didn't go through his entire life. It went
Right.
through a short stretch of his life, like 5 months or so.
Right.
I'm taking that Kara's going through about the same time stretch here. What we're seeing with just a few months of her life. I don't think it's a few. I don't think it's a few weeks. I think it's a few months. A lot has happened to her. She's been on and off the planet. She's had encounters with Superman, with Superboy. I mean, a lot's happened to this girl. I am going to take it. I take it's more than a few weeks for me, as far as reading her story. But I mean, it's still 8 months for her with everything that's happened. Not a lot of that has been spent on Earth.
Yeah, and not a lot of it's been spent where she's actually been able to focus, and just her hearing's kicking in, and her just the clutter and craziness of a New York City. This is New York. This is the biggest city in the world, basically, and it's crazy and confusing for a person with normal hearing. You add the super hearing to it. You add the supervision. You add all the super heightened functions that she has. It's really going to mess with her. And I was glad to see that there was this messing. There was this kind of confusion and distortion.
Now, here's my question. She was singing.
Yeah.
Was her singing causing this? Or was it the father coming in at this point and then she recognized? Well, you do see the father when the things start to shift.
Yeah.
You see him actually come into the cafe in the background in the first panel on that page.
Yes.
Right over her shoulder. So was that the original switch to when his voice starts changing? The guy that she was talking to, I'm talking about the guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
The little goatee.
Yes. That definitely was the dad popping in. Now, I took it that, and I thought maybe her singing may have kind of been like a homing beacon for the dad.
Okay.
And that's how the dad found her.
Now, here's my question. Why doesn't it work on Kara?
Because she's Supergirl?
That's
the only thing I can think of.
Is it the language barrier or that she's Kryptonian?
You know what? I never thought of a language barrier. It could be a language barrier thing, that the fact that she has no idea what she's saying. She doesn't know the words, she just knows the emotion behind it. And she's commenting how what a great singer it is, and wow, I can feel it inside me. Well, maybe that's the mojo, the magic behind the singing coming through, but it's not affecting her because there's not the solid power behind it.
And then there's the dad who comes in. I really liked how this storyline was played out, how you've got, two friends together. I also love that we're seeing the fact that she doesn't have her super suit on. So, we're seeing more of an effect of the battle on her than maybe we would have seen previously, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, look at the clothes just get immediately tattered. And, okay, that's part of the problem. That's part of the advantage of wearing the indestructible Kryptonian clothing.
But haven't we learned that both Superman and Supergirl are not quite as powerful as they used to be as far as with indestructibility? Isn't that true?
Right.
Like, because Clark had a shiner?
Yeah, definite. There's levels of invulnerability, but also you're looking here, this is magic, so we know there's going to be, she's going to take damage from it. And
I love the ending of this. I love seeing Silver Banshee appearance for the first time. I love that I thought I could run from it. I was wrong. Now and forever, I'm Silver Banshee. I guess here's what happens. When she goes up against Dad, what does that mean for her, becoming Silver Banshee? Does that mean that she will not be able to maintain being a good guy? Because here's the problem. What happens with the end resolution of the battle with Dad and their friendship? I don't know.
Oh God, yeah, that opens up the door of what's going to happen next.
What a great build! I mean, great anticipation built here. I love this.
Yeah, I'm really. This is another supporting cast character, villain. Who knows what she's going to be? It's got me wondering what the next issue is going to, what's going to happen. Not only the physical action in the fight, but what happens to her friend. Will there still be a friendship? Will they have to part ways? Will we learn she's really a villain? I still don't think she's a villain in this. I still think she's just somebody who is trying to live her life who kind of has father issues.
I liked this the same way that I liked Terra and Power Girl together when they were doing that. I think it's a good friendship. It's a little different than what you get in some of the other titles. But, I want to see, if it's not her, I want to see some supporting cast develop for Supergirl. Some consistent supporting cast down the road. We're early on into this book, so we got time for all this, especially with her just trying to get, some form of stability on this planet. And I'm really liking that. It's giving it a unique feel that you're not getting from any of the other books. And I'm really enjoying Supergirl right now. Because I feel at the core she's a character you can't help but like. Any of the problems that she gets into with any of our heroes, like Superman or Superboy, come from genuine places of misunderstanding versus her being evil or bratty. Like, she's not bratty. There were periods in Supergirl's previous run where she was bratty. And I liked how that all played out. I'm glad that they did it because I thought the payoff was when they eventually transitioned her out of that. It felt like something more. I don't want to see that again, though. I don't need her to be a brat again. I like that this girl's likable. Like, I really like her. And that's a key to me. I don't want to see that done again because that was done. It was played out. I thought that Sterling Gates and Eigel did a great job of transitioning her out of that. And because she was not a brat to begin with, she transitioned into being a brat. And then was pulled out of it into being somebody who I thought was a really definitive Supergirl. This one, her reaction is to a world that's reacting to her in a way that makes no sense. And I like that.
Yes, definite. It's funny, as you said at the beginning of the discussion here, it's how much we loved Supergirl before the transition and before the reboot. And I'm really getting a same type of, I'm loving this title vibe. From the book now. And I always liked it before. This is one that every issue it's growing more and more on me just because we're getting more glimpses of who she is as a person. We're getting more of the character. And I do want to see a supporting cast get developed for her. I'm not anything I'm complaining about now because the way the character's been introduced, all the craziness behind her, but I do want that. And I'm seeing signs of it coming through. I'm seeing the beginning birth of Kara, of the character, not just Supergirl. And I'm glad that they're covering her a little bit different than the other heroes.
Oh, amen. I totally agree with that. I think that she's one of those characters that really has a unique storytelling to her that I'm just having a lot of fun with. And, I want to see this book continue to be successful because I'm a Supergirl fan. I've been since I was a little kid. She's a character who... I collected her since her bandana wearing days. So it's great. It's great to see this character having this kind of a book again. I've enjoyed the various great runs of Supergirl that we've been getting in recent years. And I'm just glad to see that this book doesn't feel like a watered down version of anything that's come previously. It's its own definitive run in its own way. And the creative team really just understands how to deliver good Supergirl storytelling. I'm into this.
Lasers! He's got lasers!
Well, it's Saturday, midday-ish or so, or actually probably more of almost beginning to be early evening, I guess. You don't see sunlight in these things, so it's kind of hard to judge time if you don't have a watch on, which, hey, I didn't bring my watch. So I have no idea really what time it is. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants, but I'm having a wonderful time. Gotten to talk a little bit about comics. Got to go to some neat, go to a DC panel, a Before Watchmen panel. Got to see some slides that, everybody else actually will be seeing them shortly because they're going to be putting them online. But I got to see them first. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to hang up right now. So, talk to you guys later. Bye.
Yes, this is a concerned citizen named Freddie Williams, and I'm disturbed to only see Jim here at the C2E2 convention, and I'm afraid that something might have happened to Sean. If you guys could check on him and make sure that he isn't trapped under a stack of comic books so tall that it would encapsulate a grown man, that would be excellent. And then let me know. Let me know, because I hadn't seen him at this convention, okay? Okay, thanks, then. Thanks.
This is the first in a series of voicemail messages where I'm convinced now that salt can be shoved through a phone to go over wounds. That was Freddie Williams from Captain Atom. And no, I'm not under a box of comic books. Although if I was, I would like Captain Atom to, in fact, be in that box so you'd feel guilty. But yeah, it was. This was great because I didn't know. You told me there were some voicemails that I had to bring down. I had no idea that there were going to be creators and friends of the show and just people that you happen to encounter along the way who you had call in and do this. So it was great. That's one of the things I do miss about conventions was to see friends who we're lucky enough that we've been to enough of these now that when you go to Chicago Convention, you tend to see a lot of great familiar faces. And there is a con community of creators, readers, listeners, just all kinds of different levels of fandom that attend conventions. If you haven't been to a convention, do yourself a favor and do that. Make sure to stop by creators' tables at Artist Alley and places like that. Make sure you're chatting with people when you're in line, because there's a lot more people that I'm seeing that are social when they're waiting to get into a panel or something like that now. And it's really just a great opportunity to make connections and have those dialogues and discussions that you've always wanted to have with people. If you've never been to a con, do yourself a favor and get going. These are just great events. I genuinely miss the fact that I wasn't at C2E2 this year from just this kind of great environment. And what you just hear there from Freddie Williams is a great example of the fact that creators are just amazing people. The fans are amazing people. And that's that energy that you feel, in that phone call is exactly what you're going to get from the show floor. Do yourself a favor, go to these things because they're super cool.
Hey, Sean, it's Jamal Igo. Just wanted to say hi. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you at C2E2. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up soon, and I will talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll get to be on the show again, and have a good day, man, and I'll talk to you soon.
I so want to get him on the show again. We've got to talk to him because I'd love to get him on the show to talk about the Ray, obviously, and then also his upcoming work. I'm a huge fan of Jamal Igo. His artwork is fantastic. He is someone who I will follow to any project. So I want to see where this guy's work's going now and what's coming up. I mean, a lot of news to talk about on the show. So we'll definitely be getting him on. I'll send him an email. I'll talk to him about see what his schedule is like and see if we can make that happen. Hopefully his schedule will allow him the opportunity to come back on the show because we definitely want to chat with him. I know you had some great conversations with him on the show floor, so we'll definitely have Jamal back on the show. If it honestly works for him, he's in. So that's all it takes for me.
Yeah, his new project he's on, the Kiss comic, is actually he was. It sounded like he was having a lot of fun with it, and I know I ordered it through DCBS, so it's I think there's some other stuff going on that. Either they couldn't announce it at C2E2 or it's just finalized. So I want to see where we're going and what we got coming up next.
It's going to be hard for a creator when they're transitioning. I actually love to talk about that because you're hitting a point where you've got interested fans. And, if you can't announce everything that you're working on because things are still in the transition phase, it's going to be hard because I'm a big fan of his. So I want to know the work that he's doing because I want to make plans to make sure I've got room in my budget. And I will make plans to make sure I've got room in my budget for that. Like Kiss, that's IDW, isn't it? Because I ordered that. I don't remember who was through. It's one of those things where literally I'm ordering it because Jamal's on it. And but you know what? I grew up with Kiss as a kid, so to read a Kiss comic, I'm like, that'd be kind of cool. I remember watching the Kiss movie when I was a kid growing up. So to see, obviously it's going to be more of a modern thing. It's going to be kind of fun. So I'm definitely in on that. But, his work on the Ray is also something I'd like to discuss because his work just continues to impress every project that he does. The Ray is one of those books at the end of the mini. I'm screaming to myself, I want to see this character. I want more from this character. I want this character in a monthly.
Oh, definitely. And I think that was actually a lot of people were talking about that, and that got thrown out a lot. And I know I said that multiple times to anybody who would hear me and who would listen. And the Ray got really good response and really good reviews.
I wish it had launched as a monthly.
Well, I think if it had launched as a monthly, people wouldn't have given it the chance.
Really?
Now that it came out, I think people are saying, hey, this was a really good story and it had really good word of mouth, that I think if they followed up with something, that would still do well.
I don't want that to be another Freedom Fighters. Let me clarify that. I want it to be another Freedom Fighters in the sense that that book was nothing but quality, which is what The Ray is. But Freedom Fighters, a lot of people didn't give that book a chance, and I loved Freedom Fighters. I want The Ray to be, go beyond that. I want The Ray to be another Jonah Hex, where it's this sleeper type of thing that gets a lot of support. Or beyond, actually, because I know Jonah Hex has been one of those it's runs through some periods where it's struggled. So I'm hoping All Star Western is enjoying, with a lot of its Batman tie-in to it, is enjoying a readership that it hasn't before. And I would like to see The Ray get that. Gray and Palmiotti are just brilliant writers. Jamal Eigel's artwork on The Ray is gorgeous. It's just such a great book. I want to hang with this kid and in his world every month. So The Ray is one of those. I want to see more out of that title. I think they launched something special there. It reminds me of what I really liked about All New Adam when it came out with Ryan Choi. Just immediately a likable character. His supporting cast I immediately liked. It's just a world that is fun and comfortable and feels very superhero-y, and unique. It doesn't feel like anything else that's out there right now. It's another one of those characters that I hope it goes more the Blue Beetle route than anything else. This is a character that I could see doing very well animated. Being a part of Teen Titans or that type of cartoon, or Young Justice, I should say.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a great character. So I don't know. I'm hoping moving forward we see more of The Ray.
Hey, Sean, it's Pat from Comic Geek Speak. I'm at C2E2 with your co-host Jim. Say hi, Jim. Hello. And wonder why you're not here to miss a great con, Sean. Anyway, congrats, episode 300. Your epic Nightfall storyline. I'll take off a week of work to listen to that at some point. I want to say hi and hope you're doing very well, and see you soon. Bye.
I almost said he was wondering why you're not here, and I was ready to say, well, when you paused and you introduced him, that was the reason why. we finally got him out of town for a weekend.
Now I see the truth behind it.
No, all kidding aside, Pants is another one of the people that every time we're lucky enough to have a table somewhere, we're lucky enough to be right by the CGS guys, who are just tremendous, tremendous people. And that's another one of the things that I missed from the convention. I had no idea you did this, that you went around to a few people and got them to call in like this. And big fan of Comic Geek Speak and that whole community. They've been very, very good to us over the years. So thank you very much for the well wishes, and hopefully get that week off at some point. I run into that problem from time to time with podcasts. I think it's something, if you don't record a podcast, I don't think you realize that there's a lot of time budgeting to putting together your show, not just the recording, but it's the producing the show, and then it's the production after the show and everything that goes along with it that will eat into your time. I'm an avid podcast listener. I love podcasts as a concept. I don't just record them. I enjoy them. And it's for me, I enjoy the variety that's out there. And I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Comic Geek Speak. It's one of the podcasts that helped bring me into the dance. And actually, we've got a voicemail, which I don't know if we're going to get to it on this episode or the next one, is another podcaster who is an instrumental part of us being here, who we'll get a chance to talk about. But it's really appropriate that we've got a friend from Comic Geek Speak telling us right around the 300 show, well wishes, because they're really the reason we're here. So thank you very much, Pants, and talk to you guys later.
Hi, Raging Bullets. This is Gail Simone calling from C2E2. Hi, Sean. We're sorry that you're not here with us. Well, but it's important to teach kids too. And I just wanted to say one of the coolest things that I've seen over the weekend was I saw a mom and her two daughters going by my table, and one of the daughters was really small and inside the stroller, and the other was walking beside the stroller. And all three of them were dressed as Wonder Woman. It had to be the most amazing sight I've ever seen. So I'm so sorry you missed it. So I'm trying to paint the picture for you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
I so love that sounds like Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, and Wonder Tot.
Yeah.
I so love that. I'm with her. That's like a total geek out moment. I mean, that was I'm sad that I missed that, but I'm glad that we got to talk about that, because that's neat. Did you get to see that?
I did not get to see that. I missed it.
I mean, that would be something I would have wanted a picture of. You know, I mean, that she painted a really good picture of it, but that was the first thing that came to mind was the classic, storytelling like that. Just totally, I'm a Wonder Woman geek. And this is a writer who obviously helped continue and, if anything, expand that love for Wonder Woman. Especially, I loved her relationship with Nemesis, which is one of my fond. It actually made me want to boot Steve Trevor to the curb. But
Sir Thomas of Cleveland.
That's right. We love him. But I know that's one of the things I miss about the cons is the costumes. I mean, getting to see these people who dressed up, especially families. One of the cool things about conventions is, did they do the Sunday Family Day again?
Yeah, it was Kids Day and all that, and there was a lot of little ones there running around on Sunday, but we had a pretty good stretch throughout the entire con of little kids, of families, and there was a couple family concepts that I got to see, and that was some pretty neat costumes. I did get pictures, and eventually I will get them to you so we can get them uploaded, and y'all can see them.
We'll see when that's going to happen.
I guarantee before New York Comic Con, we will have the Chicago ones up. How about that?
It's next year. Or it's what, October?
It's October.
Yeah.
October. It's in 2012. So
I like, what it is? I like the way you like to build anticipation with slow teases.
Yes.
You look good. Been working out? You could probably use a little sun. Then again, who am I to talk?
Our next book will be Superboy, number 8. The plot is by Scott Lobdell, with script by Tom DeFalco, pencils by, and let me apologize ahead of time before I butcher his last name, because I will, Iban Choello and R.B. Silva, with inks by Rob Lean and Iban Choello, colors by Richard and Tanya Hori and Hi-Fi colorists, letters by Dave Sharp, with Chris Conroy editor, Shane Davis, Sandra Hope, and Barbara Ciardo on the cover.
That was a good one to spell out. I wouldn't be able to tell you either, and I wouldn't want to butcher that either because the cover's gorgeous.
Absolutely wonderful cover. And actually the artwork throughout this has been stellar. And that's why I wanted to give an apologies up front on the butchering of the names, because this had a really cool look to it. And it was actually part of the action sequences, which something I really liked. And when I get an art team that can do a cool looking action sequence that, I really get the feel and the flow through, it's something I'm like, wow, that is cool. That is something I'm digging.
One of the things that I'm really enjoying from Superboy is gradually understanding how he's building a sense of people he wants to be friends with, a sense of morality based on things that are happening to him. Because we start with this character very early on who really has no sense of moral code, no sense of right and wrong. When they were doing simulations with him, things were happening to civilians, and he was walking by ignoring them. Into a kid who now has reasons to care, and they're being built gradually. I did not know what to expect from this book. And how to become attached to this character, because I was a big fan, again, of Superboy. Very long run for that character. We got to see him in The Return of Superman introduced and developed for such a long, rich stretch into a character who I was mad when he died.
Yeah.
And, then he came back, and he's such an impact when he came back, and great stories there. And we had great series going on, both by Jeff Johns and then Jeff Lemire. And so this is one I'm like, you're relaunching who? Again, I get it. This was a great example of a relaunch. I really enjoy this character now. I am saying that even with issue 8 right now, we're still seeing some development of this character. Good development, solid development, gradual development of this character into a character who understands his world and is trying to find his role in it. But I will say now by issue 8, I'm totally riding along with him. Like, I'm on board. I dig his storyline, the stuff that's going on with Caitlin Fairchild, mistakes that he's made along the way, the development of, but not just him, Rose Wilson as well, I thought has been really great in this book. The kind of organic crossover this has had with Teen Titans the build to what's going to be Ravagers, this is the prelude issue to the culling, which is the big kind of Superboy, Teen Titans. I think Ravagers are going to be part of that.
Yeah.
I think crossover that's going on. I like this little teen universe that's been developed at DC. These characters are really developing some legs. I'm really enjoying them, and this is one of those books that another one I was very, very worried about. It is one that's taken me an arc or so to get used to, but I've always liked it. Now I love it, which is the huge distinction. This one did take a little time to get the love category, but I always liked it, and
Yeah.
I'm very into the character now.
Yeah, I was a huge Connor fan, and when everything was announced as to changing of who he was and how he came about and just his whole backstory, I was just like, what? It was something that really was a shock to the system. And I can say by issue 8, I am really loving this character. I am really loving this version of Superboy. This is a solid character, and there is such room for growth with him that I want to see that happen. I want to see a change. I want to see the growth and progression of Superboy. I want to see him develop the Connor Kent character if he actually goes that route. Who knows where he's going to go with it? Who knows if he will ever have a secret identity? He may not develop one. It's up in the air, and we'll see where it comes out as it's played out. But there has been a nice progression and a nice connection in crossovers. The Teen Titans crossovers with the Ravengers, and even Legion Lost had the appearance in the Teen Titans recent Teen Titan issue. So they're doing a lot of combining of the younger heroes, of the people who kind of fit in this shell, and it's when everything, the final explosion happens, they're going to go their ways, but there'll always be the connection. And I want to see where he goes throughout this. This is, the development of who he is and his identity. And he went from being a to, this is kind of some cool stuff here, because it's, again, another exploration of humanity, an exploration of morality. It's the how and why should I use my powers. This is a kid who is a test tube. He was created in a lab, and he wasn't created with a moral code. He didn't have a sense of right and wrong instilled in him or have any positive influences telling him how to be. And he's slowly learning it along the way. And, he's right now at the crossroads, and where does he go after this? Now, the culling that they're talking about here, this looks like it's going to be, a battle between these teens to see who survives, right? Yeah, it's the big battle royale between all the teen superheroes to see who becomes the Ravengers, who becomes this, Harvest's minions. And it's, the question will rise, they're being brought up here to, being programmed and trained to be this force of evil. Will they actually do that? Will they say, we're heroes, this is who we are, or what's going to happen? And that's, there's some cool stuff that have happened in Titans, that gets associated with this and gets connected. And that's something that I'm reading all the titles, but I wonder if someone is just reading Superboy, how is the story reading for them? Because that is something I couldn't imagine not reading Teen Titans and this. Because granted, Superboy is telling a completely separate story. It is telling what you need to know, but I am getting so much more about the ravaging, about the culling, about just what what Nowhere is up to, what Harvest is up to, what Grunge here is up to, just from these other stories. You know what I love, though? I will give a lot of credit to these books for that, because one of our listeners on Facebook made mention in the Facebook group that they were reading either just Teen Titans or just Superboy, and they were asking the same question you're asking: is there something I'm missing? But I do think, if you take a look at the issue when the fight's going on between him and Grunge, and Superboy's on the ground, they give you that quick little blurb, that quick panel that just gives you an update on this is what happened with the Teen Titans. It references the issue if you want to read the whole story, but gives you just the information that you would need to understand how it affected Superboy psychologically. This is why would they risk their lives for someone who tried to kill them? And this sets a tone with him where he's sitting here saying,
Nobody stuck up for me like that since Caitlin. Maybe there's a chance they'll get us out of here. He's developing this kind of respect and maybe not realizing it, but he has this need for friendship, this need for camaraderie that everybody needs. But this is something he's learning through experience versus we don't usually have characters go through this in comics where they've never had that before. You know what I mean? That real sense of what friendship and camaraderie really means, what somebody doing something for you and being there for you in the thick of it really means. These are people with a moral code where they just said, hey, you tried to kill us, but this is who we are. This is what we do. And he's learning from that and respecting that. I really, really love his development and how experiences going on around him are influencing his growth, his sense of character development. And here's the question is, are they keying into the Clark side of him? And is that something that's part of his DNA and natural makeup? Or is that something that really in this hybrid of a character is something that, is his own? I don't know. They haven't revealed yet the father's DNA, have they? The other one?
They still have not flat out said that it's Superman and Lex.
Right. I think Superman's obviously clear, but we know there's a human DNA in there.
Right.
So whose is it? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Everybody is assuming that it's Lex just because that's always been the classic story being told with, Superboy, but who knows in the new universe.
Would you be mad if it wasn't?
You know what? I actually wouldn't. And had you asked me that 8 issues ago, I would have said yes. And I would have been, what? Come on. It's got to be Lex. It's part of the coolness behind the character. But with this character, with who he is and how he was, created and raised, I would be okay if they used somebody else's DNA other than Lex Luthor's.
Yeah, I would too. I'm not really sold on either or. So, I don't know. It's a very interesting point for me. So, I don't know. That's kind of fun. I thought it was an interesting point. This whole breaking of the arms thing was something that I thought was interesting because it's putting Superboy in a position where he had to realize, even if I find a way to survive this, I could be crippled for life. And yet he's not giving up. I liked that. Like, another person I think would give up at that point and just be so focused on the pain, so focused on what they're going through. He's not. He's, first of all, there's that sense of, I don't want to die. But, there is, I think other people would be so focused on, I'm going to die here and have to be rescued. He doesn't need to be rescued. He ends up saving himself, which I thought was great. And I loved how.
Yeah, this is a definite knuckle, gut check moment for him. And that was something, as I said, I loved the action sequences because they were really instrumental in the telling of the story, the flow of the story, the look and feel. I could feel those kicks. It was like the movies where you're like, they had that boom and that echoing, that resonation. And I got the feeling from that because of the way this was throwing down. And I love the fact that, first, the previous issue, he tried his TK powers, they weren't working. And so now he's got to improvise. He does a nice kick to the neck, snaps the neck, thinks he kills him, and he's like, whoa, I thought he'd be tougher than that. And, and he have that emotional response from where he's like, hey, I'm sorry, and you can feel bad. Well, he's up against a metamorpho. It's, a metamorph. It's kind of hard to kill him by snapping the neck when they can transmute and reconfigure themselves. So, and he lets him know, hey, guess what, buddy? You got to think something else. And that was it was a cool way of showing it. One, showing Grunge, this is a little bit eviler or more evil or meaner or nastier version than we've had in the previous versions and the Gen 13 days. So I kind of like it was a little bit of a twist and a little bit of a but I did like the fact that he keeps kind of that same smart aleck style, but there's the evilness to him. There is just that little bit of a change to him. He's got somewhat of the qualities. Had he been raised differently, we would have seen the guy that we saw in Gen 13. Well, guess what? He's not that guy. This is a bad guy.
But is he going to stay that way? And what is Caitlin Fairchild's role going to be in that? Those are the questions I have. Because Fairchild clearly is operating her own mission right now. And we see that bit with Jocelyn Lure, kind of watching her.
Yeah.
The Ravagers aren't going to go on the path that they're supposed to go on. And I think Fairchild's going to be the key person to lead them in that different direction. That's just my take on it. I'm vastly interested in that story. I thought they're doing a good job of developing that. And are you excited? Actually, I should ask you that. Are you excited for Ravagers? I am, because
Yes.
I'm loving Titans and I'm loving what's going on with Superboy right now. And I do feel that these other characters like Grunge and Caitlin Fairchild are interesting enough that I want to follow them into a book. I liked Gen 13 a great deal, but I shouldn't say but. There's not really a but to this. I like that they've been brought in such a cool way into the DC universe, and I'm interested to learn more about them and how they fit into this world. So there's not really a but there. I think it's working. For me, it's working. The Wildstorm characters that are appearing in DCU right now, from Grifter to Voodoo to these Gen 13 characters, even to Hellspot, who just appeared in Superman, I think they're using them judiciously, like picking and choosing characters that kind of fit in the right spots, and it's working for me.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to Ravengers. It's, part of it is the Teen Titans, connection, crossover, the Gen 13 connection, but also just seeing the way they've really developed Rose and the way they've developed Caitlin, and these are characters that they got me interested in Superboy. I want to see more from them. I want to see where this goes, but I'm also really into the whole culling and the whole harvest and everything that's going to happen here. I want to see them, one, tell the big bad to go pound salt, but I also want to see who the big bad is, really. We don't really know who this character is, and it's something I've been racking my brain trying to figure out, because I think there's somebody that's been around a while. They're just going under a different name right now to kind of give the readers a little swerve or a little out of from left field, and that's what I want to know. It's part of the path, part of the progression, but also part of the development of this team. They've caught me from the beginning, and it's just growing along with my enjoyment of Superboy, my enjoyment of the Teen Titans. It's my enjoyment of the Legion Lost. Just them as a title. These are all kind of titles that have their connections and their interconnections that I'm like, oh, this is neat. I want to see where this goes, and it's what is this part of the DC universe? And when you get that, that energy and you get that excitement from the other associated books, it just adds to, my hoorah of the moment.
I was glad to see the sequences with Rose and Solstice. I really enjoyed that because one of the cool things about Rose is I think that she's a character who you never quite know which side she's on. And like the sequence at the end where we see her kind of seem to be convinced by Solstice that the choice is hers. She can be good or bad. She can be light or dark. I think they're putting a swerve on. Are you taking it that way?
Oh, 100% swerve. I'm complete agreement with you that and I'm not exactly sure how the swerve is going to happen or why she did it, but there's that whole feel, it had everything just felt off. It felt good, and I was like, this is cool. I liked where they were going with it, but it just completely felt like it was a Rose setup. And for some reason, she and Solstice decided, okay, you're on the inside, I'm on the outside. We do a 1-2 tag team combo. Because you think about what is the culling, it is all these teen heroes killing each other, and then the existing Ravagers coming in and doing some more killing, and just it's a free for all of the last people standing are the Ravagers. Well, if you have on the inside knowing, okay, Rose is with us, and then Rose comes in, at the last moment to do an assist, a swerve, a help, or even maybe, I don't know, taking out maybe like Rose has got has to take out the security force fields or whatever they're going to use to keep him in, or she's going to be the behind the scenes backstab to the big bad guy. And I completely had that feeling that Rose is actually on their same side with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm anxious to see what that does for her relationship with Superboy.
Yeah,
which is going to be interesting. Go ahead.
I want to know how Grunge survives, because he got a really hurting done here. He had the dampeners ripped from his body, and you see him lying in a massive pool of blood, and he doesn't look like
they aren't dampeners, they're implants. Like, aren't they increasing his abilities versus dampening them?
When I say dampeners, I'm talking the TK dampeners. Those were the things that, to me, were preventing him from using a TK blast on him, is what I thought.
But I thought those implants enhanced him in some way too, didn't they?
Yes. Oh, definitely, because he said he used to have to be in contact with the material to assume the properties of it, and now he was able to basically do it at thought. And that's probably what those implants were doing as well.
So the question is, will those implants be put back into him, or will he now have limitations because of this?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's going to be one of the real questions coming out of this as well.
Oh,
I loved that fight because the two of them were beat up afterwards, and I loved Superboy's. And because we got to see a thinking man Superboy, where he had to think through the situation versus just using the power. And more than likely, the kind of victory Harvest was trying to pull out of me. But if this is victory, what victory feels like, I'd rather.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, and it's emotional, it's an ethical, it's a moral standpoint that Superboy never had before, and he now is starting to have this remorse. He's now starting to have these heroic type of feelings, and it's kind of neat to see. I'm glad that we're getting something, and we're getting some type of change.
And we see now the first New 52 appearance of Garth, Beast Boy, and of course Terra.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see those two together. Is she destined to turn on him again, or what's going to happen there is going to be kind of my question.
I hope not.
Yeah, same with me.
I'm hoping that maybe this time things work out well between the two of them.
But a great kickoff, great prelude issue to this particular storyline. I'm very into the Superboy comic.
Oh, definite. And it's something, this is another one where I'm in a completely different place now than I was in the beginning. Mm-hmm. When they first announced the concept, I was like, "Arr!" Then I started reading stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, it's an interesting story, but I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't like, oh my God, this is great. I love it. Now I am at like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm really loving this. This is some good stuff going on, and I want to know where this goes. And I'm really locked solid into Superboy.
There's a number of books that are like that for me, where they started off in a way where I was very tentative. Red Hood and the Outlaws, I mentioned that as well. I adore that book now.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it was a storytelling journey that took me to that point. It wasn't like a shocking change. It wasn't like I was tentative issue 1 and then I was fine issue 2. It was more of a gradual build to understanding the direction of the creative team, the story they were trying to tell, and how it's really doing things with certain characters. Like Red Hood and the Outlaws is a great example of that, where they're doing things with characters in a way that I always wanted them to do. Especially with Jason, that I don't think we haven't seen since the character's return. Superboy, I do think at its core, it's getting to what I've always liked about the character, and that was something that I was afraid wasn't going to happen, and we're starting to get to that now. And again, that's been a gradual journey versus he was this character in the first issue, now he's a different character. We're seeing him gradually grow into the Connor that we all love. So I'm excited for that. You aren't watching regularly Young Justice, are you? We've had discussions about this before.
No, I am not, and I've been yelled at by people.
You need to.
What are you doing? You need to.
No, I'm just going to be honest with you. If you are liking this stuff and you're not watching it, and don't worry about, would it be great to go back and watch the whole last season of it? Sure. I'd start now, dude. I mean, it's not they do like a little promo in the beginning when the episode involves things that you need to know from the past, but it's like picking up a comic, a few issues in.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm smart that way.
No, but I mean, you should start watching this. This whole DC Nation hour block every Saturday is just tape the next one. Start watching that and Green Lantern and Young Justice. And you'll get the shorts that are in between them. I mean, it's for a fan of the DC books. If you're not watching this stuff, dude, you got to start. I'm telling you this not because for my sake. I'm watching it. Do it for you. I mean, you're missing something. Okay. And they'll do reruns.
And eventually I'll catch it, so...
But I would start now. Because what ends up happening is if you keep holding back, I'm not just, let me clarify, I'm not just talking to you. I'm throwing this out there for anybody who's not watching this now. We're all completists. Would I love to start every television show I watch right at the beginning? Absolutely. But in this particular case, I think there's an hour-long block that a lot of people are on the internet talking about right now that you can jump in and be a part of the discussions and part of the fun that everybody else is having right here and right now. And there's really nothing going on in those episodes that, you can't just gather, what's going on from watching the show. And I do think that this is something that the buzz needs to get out on. And there's going to be a Batman cartoon that's coming as a part of this block. And if it's half the quality of the other two cartoons I just mentioned, we're going to be in for a treat.
Cool.
You know, I've heard a lot of people saying, well, it's going to be no Batman the Animated Series. Who cares? I mean, and that's not I'm not mean that in a negative way at all, of Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series was terrific. It ran its run. It was terrific. Every episode was great. It's its own piece of history. What I want out of the new Batman cartoon is just to be a good Batman cartoon. If it's a good Batman cartoon or a great Batman cartoon of the same quality as these two other ones that are out, I'm a happy camper. We need that. You know, maybe it will serve the same quality that Batman the Animated Series did, just in a new way. And if it does that, we're all the better for it. I want it to succeed. I don't know these people that like negatively don't want these things to succeed before they're even out. It's like, really? Like, if you like Batman the Animated Series that much, you're that passionately coming out and saying that, why would you not want something being delivered that's going to give you similar emotions? Like, why would you immediately start off thinking to yourself, there's no way this could deliver that for me again? Why would you do that to yourself? I don't get it. I'm walking in hoping this is going to be a great Batman cartoon. But Young Justice, I cannot recommend enough. For any Teen Titans fan, you have to watch that cartoon. It's amazing. Okay. It's absolutely amazing. The highest possible recommendation I can give it. And I'm going to keep telling you this until you start watching it.
Okay, I will record it.
Because I'm your friend. No, I'm being honest with you. I'm your friend. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to go buy anything at a comic shop. Usually I push you to buy things. This is one, I promise you, I will find a way to give you your time back if you don't like it.
Okay. I will hold you to that.
I don't know how I'll do that. Maybe I'll watch your car or something.
You know what? Hey, I got some house cleaning and wash a car. I can think of I can think of a couple hours worth of work.
Here's what it is. I'll help you move. You're going to tell me you don't like it anyway.
No.
No, seriously. I mean this for I'm really not just talking to you. There's probably a lot of listeners out there who may be, dismissing it as, it's Saturday morning cartoons for kids. This is an everybody cartoon. And the quality is just amazing. And anybody who's currently reading Teen Titans will feel right at home with Young Justice. I think the writing is that smart. It's a great show. And there is an ongoing storyline that goes on it that you can pick up along the way. But you'll pick up, like in an episode or two, what's going on. And you'll be like, wow, what was I missing this for? And you'll catch what you missed in reruns. So what? So pick it. If you listen to it, if you end up watching it, let us know what you think. Because I am honestly insanely interested in your viewpoint on it. Do you see it the same way I do? Maybe I really liked it and you didn't, and that's fine if that winds up being the case. But I would definitely love your feedback on the show if you start watching it. And Green Lantern, what do you think of those cartoons?
I will record this Saturday.
Okay.
So, and I'm not sure when I'll get the chance to watch it, but I will start recording, with this Saturday coming up.
Well, just follow up with us when you do, because
yes.
I definitely love to get your feedback on it, because I think they're two just spectacular animated series. Jim, I want to tell everybody about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. And we have some voicemails that we're going to be airing next week. We finished up your C2E2 phone calls on this particular episode. And I have 3 phone calls from friends of the show that are waiting to go for next week. And any other phone calls that obviously come in between now and then will also air in a special segment as well. So we love having you part of the show. Remember, we've got a great Facebook group as well as Facebook page. And remember, if you're part of our Facebook page, don't forget to join the Facebook group. That's what we're using as our forum now. And it is separate from the regular Facebook page. And there's a link directly on our show website to that. We're also on Google Plus and Twitter. So, Twitter, I always have Twitter set up that any new posts we put on our show website go to Twitter and also hit Facebook. So those of you on Twitter that like to know show updates, I tend to post a lot during the week, as far as when episodes are coming out. If I know what the episode content's going to be, I like to put that out there just so people know ahead of time. I want to ahead of time thank everyone who retweets stuff for us. I'm a casual Twitter user. I'm trying to get better with it. And if there's something you ever want me to retweet of yours, please don't hesitate to, let me know. Hey, can you retweet this? I'm trying to get better with Twitter. It's a newer thing for me. I mean, I've been on it for a while. I'm getting better with it than I was, especially having it linked into our show website now. I try to post on there regularly and try to respond to as many people as I can. So I am getting better with that. But certainly if there's something you're like, dude, it would be really helpful to us if you shout this out. I'm a huge fan of cross-promotion, helping other people out in any way, shape, or form. If you're a friend of our podcast, I certainly want to be a friend of yours and do the same. So please don't hesitate to give me a nudge when you feel it's necessary, if you want links on our website or anything else. It's kind of a general shout-out. And feel free to post on any of those areas like Facebook and stuff like that if you've got something that you feel is relevant to our listening audience. That's always, always welcome on Raging Bullets.
Could you just once say, let's get in the car? Is that so hard?
Once again, sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, remember, Aquaman's hardcover, Volume 1, The Trench. That special discount, $22.99 regularly, 50% off if you pre-order it, only $11.49. That's DCBService.com. Over at InStockTrades.com, don't forget to check out Justice League hardcover, Volume 1, Origin. $24.99 regularly, 50% off, only $12.49 from InStockTrades.com. InStockTrades.com and DCBService.com, your comic book discount sources. Jim, our next episode, new books, new books, new books. We're talking new books. We are going to talk Earth 2 #1, GI Combat #1, World's Finest #1, Dial H #1, and Smallville #1. So big show coming up. I've been waiting to talk Smallville #1 with you because I've been reading it digitally as it comes out, and you picked up the first issue. So it's all the same content. So I'd love to talk about our experiences with Smallville, but it's a big episode, so we're going to be talking about that next week, and we will see everyone then.
Bye!
Flying through space and time, 1,000 different lifetimes. Fated for love and flaws and incredibly clear sightlines. Swinging your mace around, such a practical outlook. Helping the JSA and occasionally supporting your own book. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see. Hawkman, your plan and what you do to me. Hawkman. The villains are closing in. Be they Thenin guard or Egyptian, working so hard to thwart you and Hawkgirl's mission. The odds are not on your side, and danger seems to stack up. Things would be so much easier if you would just call for backup. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see your plan and what you do to me. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see. Hawkman, your plan and what you do to me. Hawkman, talking about Hawkman.